Hey everyone, happy Tuesday night and welcome to GameFace episode 148 on Sifted Games at Sifted.net. Hope you guys had a great weekend. You're ready for another great week of video games. We have a huge show for you guys tonight. We have 8 topics, tons of games, tons of other fun stuff to talk about, so we're not going to waste a ton of time on the intro. Just want to speak briefly about the Sifted t-shirt photo contest. It is in full swing right now. So hopefully you guys are either getting your shirts or you have your shirts, you're working on your photos. Some of the initial photos that have come up have been great, so you guys are into it, which is awesome. If you're overseas in Europe or Japan or wherever, and you want to get in on the competition, you literally need to buy a shirt by tomorrow. If you buy it tomorrow, you should get it in time to have maybe a day and a half to get your entry in before Matt and I choose the winners on next week's show right here on GameFace. If you're in the US, you could probably wait until Friday and then you'd get it on Monday, but I would not suggest that. I would say for US folks, if you want to be safe, I would say order them on Thursday and then you'll probably get them on Saturday. Delivery in the US is like 2 days. So thanks to everybody who's bought shirts. We're just like 5 shirts short of breaking even. So if we can get 5 more people to buy shirts, I can stop wearing this shirt.
Or one person with 4
lots
friends.
of money. Right, exactly. So hope you guys are having fun with the competition. I'm having fun checking out the stuff you guys are doing with it. So good luck. And next week on the show, Matt and I will sit here and we'll pick a winner. And the winner will get a game of their choice. Let's see. Anything else I need to bring up before we get going? I don't think so.
No.
Yeah?
How's that Patreon doing?
Patreon has, since last week's show, has gone up a couple $100. So thank you very much to people out there who heard last week's show and decided to pitch in. Honestly, I don't want the same people to keep just giving more money. Really, our issue is we need more people. Because I don't want to keep putting the burden on the same people to give more money to keep us going. So
maybe we should start giving away imaginary spaceships.
Yeah. It works for other people.
Yeah, I hear you can make some good money doing that.
Also, a lot of you are probably ready to re-up your Amazon Prime subscription on Twitch, the Twitch Prime subscription. So if you guys do it, Johnny Hurricane, thank you as always. Bats Guys, I think, is that right? Bat Guys, thank you. Trav Hogan, thank you. I saw earlier Justin Horman, thank you. You guys have all done this right as the show kicked off, so thank you guys very much. We really appreciate it. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can help us out for free with Twitch Prime. All that stuff is down in the description. I don't want to sit here and kind of go through the whole thing about how it works, but you can give us a free $2.50 every month, but you have to redo it every month, which is a total pain in the butt. I get it. So anyway, we got a lot to get through. I don't want the show to end up being us rushing through stuff, but it might end up that way. So my apologies in advance. We have a lot of stuff to get through in the amount of time we have for the show. So let's get straight to it. Our first topic this week, and you're probably not surprised, is the passing of Stan Lee. An absolute legend. When I heard the news that he had passed, I realized immediately there will never, ever be another Stan Lee.
Oh, no.
The stuff that he did, it's something that one person has to do first. Mm-hmm. And he's done it.
One person with some very talented collaborators.
Oh, yeah. And look, I think a lot of people romanticize Stan Lee, and he deserves it. I mean, he should. But people often forget that there was a group of people with him.
Yeah, Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko, and even if Ditko did go a little crazy, he had tons of great people, working with him and designing these things and and adding to it and stuff. But he gets a lot of the credit in part because he was very savvy about getting the credit, but also because he'd been around forever. He's part of the comic book world and part of that fandom and part of the fandom of just comic book related things for his entire life. People forget he was 40 when he created that stuff, when he started doing the Fantastic Four stuff and all that in 61. Like, he'd already lived half his life was over, basically. He'd already peaked. He'd been in World War II. He'd done all this stuff. He'd been married for like 15 years. And suddenly he created this thing with Jack Kirby and all the other Marvel guys and spent the next 50 years, being part of that. So you never know. You never know when, Sam Jackson, also part of Stan Lee's universe, as Nick Fury. Sam Jackson's like big breakout roles were when he was 41, 42.
It's true.
Jurassic Park and Pulp Fiction.
Yep.
So it's never too late to change the world.
That's right.
And you're never too old to, do what you love, I guess.
Yeah,
like Stan
absolutely.
never stopped until time stopped him. Basically.
Yeah. It's I was surprised how emotional I was over his passing.
Yeah, I
don't think I truly appreciated him as much as I should have until he passed away. And then I took a moment to kind of reflect on everything that he had done, because I started thinking about how he and a lot of other people, obviously, were the original people to create what a super being, a superhero looked like. Mm-hmm. So they laid down that template, and that template has been copied for...
Yeah, well, the change, I mean, we had Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman. All those guys go back to the 38, 39.
Yeah.
And World War II, Captain America. Those guys are from when Marvel was Timely Comics back in the war. Mm-hmm. Stan Lee's contribution was that he made them people. Mm-hmm. Like the superheroes in the early days, Golden Age, were more paragons. They got a little down. Early Superman. You read early Superman. Superman's down and dirty and like busting up like fraudulent bankers who were like putting up predatory loans and like he's out there. He's out there for the little guy. He wasn't busting up Darkseid and stuff.
Yeah.
And like Batman killed people. Early Batman. Look him up. He was killing people and like at one point he nooses a guy with the bat plane and he like strangles to death hanging from his bat plane, and Batman didn't mean to kill him, but Batman goes like, oh, I guess he's dead. Well, he's better off that way. And it was just like these weird sort of like kind of the manly men sort of pulp tradition.
Yeah.
And what Stan did is he's like, these are going to be New Yorkers. They're going to be regular people with Mr. Fantastic is still going to have marital issues. Peter Parker is the Amazing Spider-Man, but he has to figure out how to pay the rent.
Yeah, and
he has to. One of the most pure expressions of why Marvel's base concept works is actually in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1, the first Guardians of the Galaxy, where Peter Quill says, "I look around this room and we know what I see? Losers." People who have lost stuff.
Right.
And like that was the key to the Marvel stuff, especially early on, was they were about something. There was always something, especially the X-Men, which were a stand-in for prejudice and bigotry, which Stan always hated.
Yeah, all his stuff had a message to it.
Oh yeah, he always, because Stan, he wanted to be a great American novelist. He wanted to be, that's why he wrote under a pseudonym.
Yeah.
A Stanley, because his real name was Stanley, I think Stanley Leibowitz or something like that. Because he was reserving his real name for when he became a real writer.
Right. Yeah.
But in the end, he told those stories through these comic books. That became his great legacy. And he established that idea of, superheroes don't have to be these strange paragons of like, and they can be that, but he made it more interesting in the sense that like they're just people. They're people that can do these extraordinary things. And when you kind of extrapolate that down to everyone as a person who can do at least one or two extraordinary things in comparison to other people, everyone has that, and like you can see yourself in those characters in a way that at the time I think Superman and Batman, a lot of those characters have evolved to adapt to that new paradigm that Stan Lee created over those years, but like there was just nothing else like that at the time. And it also, I think, targeted a slightly older audience in that like an older teenager could see himself in Peter Parker in a way that maybe you couldn't get that same thing out of a Silver Age Batman comic with its weird, wacky shenanigans and talking gorillas and stuff like that. So I was a Marvel kid growing up.
Me too.
So,
yeah,
especially from like hand-me-down '70s era issues that my cousin would give me when he was done with them. Marvel team-ups and Spider-Man and X-Men. X-Men was my big thing. And I do credit some of that with like kind of instilling some elements of my moral outlook.
Absolutely.
On the world.
You're young, you're impressionable, and I think that's another service that he's done is provided that moral compass to younger audiences without being overt about it. It's been interesting the last 24 hours seeing the columns that he used to write.
Stan's soapbox.
Yeah.
Which he really did use as a soapbox.
Right. Yeah, and he talked about moral and social issues, and he talked about why all his comics had sort of not even really a hidden message, but a message. And you start thinking about all the young kids, the impressionable young kids that have read his work or flipped through, even just flipped through his work, and how much he has influenced generations of humans. It's pretty amazing to think about.
Yeah, and now look at, you can go to the theater anytime, and here's the biggest movies of this current generation. The Avengers is this generation's, the kids that are growing up, and that's their Star Wars.
Yeah.
And that's a half century later.
And you start
this stuff
thinking,
still carries that kind of weight and can still be adapted into something that means something to a modern audience.
Yep. And you start thinking about not necessarily like Spider-Man or any of the X-Men or whatever, but just what they could do. And then you see how that got translated into games it will be forever. And I think that's the thing about Stan Lee that's different. When people die, at least people I care about and prominent people that I care about, when they die, I always start to think about, like, what is their legacy? How long is their legacy going to last? Like me, when I die 10 years later, no one will ever say my name again. That's just the way it's going to be. Stan Lee, I think, hundreds of years from now, is going to be mentioned.
Well, if you had made a few cameos in some of the biggest films ever made, you probably would be mentioned more often.
Yeah. But I'm saying, I don't think it'll be for the cameos in the X-Men movies or the Spider-Man
movies.
But
I think
what
that will help.
He's done throughout his entire career.
Yeah, but you can be forgotten for those things very easily. I think the fact that he was so visible, and the fact that when today someone who was 8 when they saw Avengers shows Avengers to their kid in 20 years, they'll, at the end of that movie where Stan Lee turns around and says, "Superheroes in New York? Give me a break." He'll say, "That's the man who did all this."
Yeah.
And that will continue. That will go for centuries. For centuries, people watch these things and say, "That's him. That's the guy who did all this."
It's hard to even fathom like what will be happening in 200 years with as quick as technology in our society is advancing right now.
Movies,
but I think
like
he will be someone that
they
will
won't
always be pointed to. Yeah.
And and Avengers 4, maybe Captain Marvel, but probably Avengers 4 will always have that for Stan. In memory of Stan at the end of it.
Yeah.
Which is going to kill everybody. Oh, that's going to be tough. Because the end of that's going to be kind of a closing of the Marvel Cinematic Universe's first big 3-phase arc, and you're going to say goodbye to Stan Lee at the same time. They've shot the cameo already for that.
Yeah.
Apparently Marvel has like 10 or 11 banked already.
How do you feel about that? The fact that now that he's gone, he's going to be appearing in films for years to come.
Stan would love it. I
guess that's all that matters is whether he
knew. He knew why they were shooting a bunch at once, because he was old and they didn't know how often he'd be able to do it. But he knew. He knows he's an icon. I mean, there was the argument. What was the Onion article that was like, Stan Lee, beloved creator of Marvel Comics character Stan Lee, dies at 95. Like he was as much a character as all these others. You can buy a Hot Toys, 1/6 scale figure of Stan Lee. Like Stan Lee was a Comic-Con exclusive action figure for multiple times. He loved it. He loved being that to people. So I don't think he'd have a problem with it at all. I think it's fitting that even after he's gone, he still entertains. It'd be different if they were like CG creating him to do that.
Like but the fact that it's hologram concerts.
But the fact that it would still be like real footage of him, as long as it's real stuff that he really did in front of a camera, like I think that's fine. I think that's why he shot it.
Yeah, I know he wanted it, or he wouldn't have done it. I think the first couple are going to be a little weird.
Yeah.
I think once you get past kind of the grease stage of somebody passing, things are a little easier. So I could see in 3 or 4 years seeing him and it'll be like a delight. You'd be like, oh wow, there he is. But
I think Marvel Studios will evaluate it as it happens.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to, whatever his cameo is in Avengers, that'll have a big pop with the audience when that happens.
Oh, people will cheer.
And you'll have the dedication, I think, on that. Probably also on Captain Marvel. But Avengers is the big one. Avengers 4 is the big one.
Yeah.
And I think going from there, and I think he shot the one for Spider-Man, which comes out a month or 2 later.
Yeah.
I think you'll probably keep that one because Spider-Man was his thing. Spider-Man was his big
baby. Yeah.
Spider-Man's the biggest thing he ever created.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to keep that one in there. Going forward beyond that, I think Marvel Studios will make the call as it happens. I feel like these guys aren't stupid. Kevin Feige is one of the sharpest producers ever to work in film. I think you'll watch that rough cut with the cameo in it that you've banked previously, and you'll either say, okay, that works, or it just doesn't feel right. Get rid of it. We're not going to do it anymore.
Yeah.
Like that's a decision they're going to have to make when the time comes, when that movie's whatever the first Phase 4 movie is. Well, first Phase 4 movie I guess is Spider-Man 2. But whatever's coming out in 2020, like they're gonna have to look at that first cut and decide what's the temperature of the room.
Yeah.
Like what is it gonna be? And I'm sure they'll make the right call.
Did you ever meet Stan Lee?
I met him once when he was, he did a lot of stuff with G4 when G4 was doing all the Comic-Con stuff, and he comes on stage and says hi to, he'd say hi to everybody, and one of the times I was near the stage and I said hi, and man, I grew up reading X-Men. He's like, great book.
I met him a few times, and one of my regrets is that I never got a photo with him.
Yeah, I never got I don't like photos take photos with people.
I never take photos with celebrities. Like I just respect their privacy or whatever. But every time I met him, it was in a space where he was supposed to interact with people, and I was kind of in awe of him, and I never wanted to bother him, and so I never ever took a photo with him, and I definitely regret it now, especially over the last 24 hours, seeing all our colleagues who were not like me. And we're like, oh, I'm getting that photo, posting their photos with him. I did talk to him several times.
Yeah,
like you said, he's a very nice guy.
Even if I had a photo with him, I wouldn't do that because I think that's a little weird.
It is a little
like posting a selfie with Stan. I mean, it's like, look, I prove you met the dead guy. Good work.
I mean, is it? I mean,
I liked how Mark Ruffalo did it, where he posted a shot of Stan Lee posing with an Incredible Hulk statue.
Yeah.
And it's like, make it about Stan Lee, not the fact that you met Stan Lee. That's a little odd to me.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's bad.
It's not that I would have posted it. I just
it.
wish I had a photo with him.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I was there. I did. I don't take photos of things like that.
I will say this: like seeing, like you said, it was a little disturbing watching everybody like search through their photo archives and find
Where's my
their
Stan Lee photo?
Right,
Yeah.
exactly, and then post it. But it just kind of hammered the whole point home that social media is just like this narcissistic. Everybody look at me. Everybody be jealous of my life. I think that's driving a lot of kids crazy.
Yeah. I also drove home that like, do I know anyone who hasn't met Stan Lee?
Yeah.
Because like at a certain
He
point,
made the rounds in the
he
industry
was
for
everywhere.
sure.
Yeah. He was not an inaccessible person.
Yeah.
It's not like meeting J.D. Salinger or something.
Right. That was a random person to pull out.
He's the opposite of Stan Lee. Famous forever, lived until very recently, and was hugely reclusive.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go for Jack Kirby because Jack Kirby's been dead too long.
Yeah, but yeah, it was a reminder to me why I don't engage on social media probably as much as I should, because I don't know, I just don't want to be that way. I'm just not the person that's like, look at me, everybody, I have this awesome life. Like I don't know. It just rubs me the wrong way when I see other people do it. And like you yesterday, I was like, I don't know, you guys pulling out these photos, like, I don't know. Everybody grieves in their own way. So I try not to judge people on stuff like that, but it's just not for me.
It's not how I would have done it.
Yeah.
As James Cameron said about Alien 3, it's not how I would have done it.
Yeah. What do you believe Stan Lee will most be remembered for ultimately? Like 40 years from now, what are people going to say about him?
I mean, just in general, the Marvel stuff, in terms of like, what we've been watching over the last 10 years is the Marvel characters escaping from what is frankly a Superman style, escaping from what is a dying medium, comic books. The average reader of a comic book, I think, is 46 or 47. Kids
That's just not an industry bound for glory.
No, it just hasn't caught on with the kids. Once our generation dies off, that's the end of comic books.
Go away.
But you're seeing
there'll be like a niche thing.
But you're seeing these characters escape that world. They're in 100 years, the Avengers and Spider-Man and Wolverine and all those guys will be movie characters. The way we think of like the Lone Ranger or Tarzan, or Tarzan used to be a book. No one remembers that.
Yeah.
Also because like Tarzan's such a visual, kinetic idea. Why would you read a book about that? But you want to see the man swinging through the trees. But that'll be what Iron Man will be a movie character to people in a generation or two, and that'll be that. They'll always be here. They'll always be around. There'll be movies about those characters forever in the same way.
Do you think?
Yeah, no question.
I mean, how are they going to explain that they never die, unless obviously the character is immortal? But
you either recast or you just keep. We're actually about to find that out, I think.
I mean, it's not even about the actor that portrays them. It's the fact that these people, while mutants, are still humans.
Doesn't matter. Like the comic books are the same way. Comics have been going for 50 years, and everybody's still 30.
Do they never rationalize how they?
Marvel Comics work on essentially what's called a sliding time scale. So essentially every 5 years of real time is 1 year in the Marvel Universe.
Okay.
So when the 30-year was it 30 or 35? Was it the 50th anniversary of everything, which was a few years ago, which was 2011. Basically, they officially said the Marvel Universe is 10 years old.
Okay.
At the time, like everyone's been doing this shit for 10 years. Spider-Man was like 15 when he started, and he's 25 now. Captain America's been unthawed for a decade. Tony Stark was in his 20s, now he's in his 30s. Like basically, that's how they did
Okay.
it. Whereas like DC likes to start over all the time, Marvel just sort of like slides the things. So like the Punisher, all the things that happened to the Punisher have happened, except he's not a Vietnam veteran now, he's an Afghanistan veteran. Or Tony Stark wasn't captured in Korea, he was captured in Afghanistan.
Right.
Like they just sort of tweak the stories of the characters to be relevant to the modern times, but everything that happened still happened. It's sort of a shared hallucination sort of thing. So I think that's what they'll do. Well, they have two different directions they could go with that for the movies. Like we're going to find out, I think, in Phase 4. They either keep these characters and let them age normally, like you have Robert Downey Jr. play Tony Stark until he's too old to want to do it anymore, which I'm sure
could be about 4 years from now.
Could be a long time. As well, I mean, he just basically becomes like a Professor X style kind of benefactor, and only shows up when shit gets real. That kind of. So the idea would be like when Iron Man, the original Tony Stark Iron Man, gets into the mix, that's your big movie. That's like he only shows up to blow the Death Star up, essentially.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he's just sort of a quick cameo, like a Nick Fury kind of thing. Or you periodically recast these characters as some other actor and just keep them at the same age. But I think they will probably let these characters grow old and pass on as they need to.
Think they'll kill him off ultimately?
I think they will. They will basically hand the man. There will always be an Iron Man, but it may not always be Tony Stark.
Right, like Tony will have a kid or whatever.
Right, have a kid or pass it down to some other character or that kind of Spider-Man. Yeah. I think you're going to tell. Well, it depends. The success of Venom may cause Sony to go stupid and pull Spider-Man out of the Marvel Cinematic Universe so they can make their own Spider-Man movies and ruin that all over again. Fingers crossed, Tom Holland. I don't want that to happen to you, but it might. Just be ready.
Yeah.
But if Sony isn't stupid and turn into arrogant Sony, like sometimes they do, and let them continue, I think you would see Tom Holland grow into the role, become a more. Basically, you would have Tom Holland over the course of several movies, becoming the Spider-Man, roughly the equivalent of the Spider-Man in the Sony game, in the Insomniac game from this year, like the experienced, seasoned Spider-Man, and they've already started to set up the Miles Morales situation by putting his uncle in Homecoming. So eventually you would have Miles Morales becoming Spider-Man or getting spider powers, and that gives you the opportunity to either have
People won't like that.
Have Peter... Oh, people love Miles.
I love him. You love him. There are some people who won't.
Well, those people don't matter. So they will. So you just basically continue that, and either Peter Parker as Tom Holland's Peter Parker either becomes kind of the veteran hero that's helping out, or you kill him off and let Miles Morales become the new Spider-Man as time goes on. Tom Holland gets older and wants to do other things.
Right.
And I think you can do that with just about anybody. Any mantle of a superhero can be passed on or passed down, as we've seen multiple times in the comics themselves. The real issue is anyone whosoever be worthy picks this hammer up is Thor.
Yeah.
Like multiple characters have been Thor over the years, including a frog. So there's a lot of options. They have a lot of options. So that's the brilliance of what Stan Lee created, is it can go forever. They're modern myths. They can adapt, they can be changed, they can be shifted, and they continue to be told. And one day, maybe they reboot it. Maybe they do it all over again. I think we're probably going to see, within our lifetime, we will see a new set of Harry Potter movies.
Oh yeah,
we will see a new set of Lord of the Rings movies.
I'll be in a nursing home. Someone will be feeding me, but
it'll happen. Like these stories will continue to be told one way or the other.
I think for me, what will resonate for Stan Lee for literally centuries to come are the concepts more than the actual things that he created. Just the abilities of the characters, what superheroes look like. Like you said, there was Superman and a couple others before he and his crew kind of started getting into it. But if you think about kind of the explosion of the characters and how they managed to find different ways to provide personification to all these superheroes, the abilities that they gave them, I think that's the stuff to me that's going to carry on not just in movies, but in games as well. Like, I can see his influence in video games hardcore. And I don't think it's ever going away. And to me, I think that's going to be his lasting legacy, is how he created these core concepts or tenets that were so versatile that they were able to be disseminated out into almost any entertainment medium. And I think, to me, that's what I think he'll ultimately be known for, is creating the fantastical that had a lot of flexibility to be used across a lot of different ways and means.
It's also to his credit that he was always willing to embrace new ways to present the characters.
Yep.
I mean, part of that is because money is good and you get paid for those things. But it's like, it was great in like the PS1 Dreamcast Spider-Man game that he was the narrator.
Yeah.
Like he popped in, just like he did in the old cartoons, the Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends and all that stuff. He just popped in, it's like, this is Stan Lee. And like, here's Stan Lee narrating this freaking video game. And it's like, it was kind of, at the time, you know, I was like, what, 98, 99? It felt like a validation almost of like, hey, this guy who's creating these characters, but he showed up and he did this for this video game, like it mattered to him, and like, that was important.
That's a good point, because if you start looking at other luminaries in industries that don't work in games, maybe he was the Trojan horse that can convince those people to go in and work on games and, in honesty, legitimize our industry to a great extent.
A little bit, yeah.
I hate to say it, but that's kind of the truth. When you start bringing in people from other entertainment mediums and they accept it, other people are more accepting of it.
And obviously he was getting paid to do that. But like the fact that he was willing to do it, you know, and do it as himself, do it, you know, very much his own shtick, you know, with the whole Excelsior, this is Stan Lee thing. That mattered at the time.
It matters right now. Seeing people yesterday posting sort of their little mini obits of him, and almost all of them finished with Excelsior. And the first few I saw got me a little bit. I was like, yep, that was his thing, you know. So it sucks. Mortality sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much expected it pretty soon. I mean, his wife died, was it last year?
And that always happens.
They've been married since 1948 or something.
It almost always happens. Yeah. If you've been together that long, once one passes, the other almost always passes within a year.
Yeah.
Because, what do you live for after that, really? I mean, you've accomplished everything in your life, and so...
And there was a lot, I mean, I think we're going to see a lot of legal battles over his estate, and there was a lot of...
He just has one heir, right?
But there's a lot of weird, screwy stuff going on.
Well, he got screwed over really good throughout his life.
Yeah, but this was the whole thing for the last year or so. People, there was a point where people, people I know who were personal friends and acquaintances of him, didn't know where he was, weren't sure who was taking care of him or who these people were, or who had power of attorney over him. His daughter was maybe trying to steal money, or people were stealing money from her, and There's a whole lot of entanglements that are going to continue to come to light, I think, over the course of the next year or two, in terms of how Stan Lee's final year played out in private, which is
there will be
sad.
Books and movies probably.
Sure.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, just focus on what he meant to everybody and the importance of his contribution to just the culture in general.
Yeah.
For me, it's funny. It was not funny, but I was walking into California Adventure, the theme park, yesterday when my phone...
You got the alert?
Well, no, I got one of my friends who works for a place that does comic book news stuff, basically texted me and said I just got the alert from on high to prepare Stan Lee's obituary, just so you know, it's coming down.
Yeah.
And then of course it started to blow up. My phone was, the Twitter was alerts and everything were popping up as I walked in. As I walked in and met up with my sister, and there's Black Panther.
Yep.
Meeting people. That's where they do a lot of the meet and greet stuff with the Marvel characters now at Disneyland. And so there's Black. I'm like, look at that. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
And right next to where they're rebuilding the center of the park to be Avengers Land, to be. It's incredible.
It's amazing what he's done. So Stan Lee, thank you. Thank you very much. I don't know if we'll ever really know the true measure of everything he's done. But what we do know right now, I think we all appreciate very much. He changed everything. He changed just comic movies. I mean, that's all there is now. Every blockbuster is a comic book movie. And then you start thinking about games and just character designs and all the artists who are going to emulate his work for centuries to come. It's gobsmacking what he accomplished. So thank you, and rest in peace. All right, let's move on. We're going to talk about something a little more fun next. Maybe, I guess, depending on your perspective. So this morning, the nominees for the Game Awards 2018 were released. Always to me, that's always a moment where I start thinking about Game of the Year stuff. That's I'm like, all right, that's coming up. I got to really start like getting my head around like what were the big games. And the list is always a great way to do that. It's a good way to kind of look back across the year. And even if you don't agree with everything, it's satisfying to see everything that came out and realize it's been another amazing year for video games. So what we're going to do is Matt and I, we're going to go through not every category. There are 23 categories for this year's Game Awards. Matt and I are going to go through the vast majority of them. And we're not going to pick our winners. We're going to pick what we think the journalists are going to select as the winner based upon the nominees.
One thing's for sure. Apparently, I got to play Celeste.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah, that game, I have not played it, but it's all over these awards.
I mean, I heard the buzz, but I didn't. I guess that's part of the Game of the Year conversation now.
Yeah, apparently. So I'm definitely going to be giving that a go in the next month and a half or 2 months. So anyway, we're going to go through category by category, and we're going to choose what games we think are going to win. A couple things have changed this year with the Game Awards. First of all, there's no like influencer dude on camera award this year. They ditched that.
Well, they more like split it into two.
Did they?
But yeah, there now is content creator.
I didn't see that.
And yeah, there's like.
Did they include them on the list that they sent out?
Yeah, it was like. You don't have them on here
because it wasn't in the list.
Well, there are. It's like content creator and like something else.
Oh, really? I thought they had ditched it.
Yeah, because what content creator is like a bunch of. It's like Ninja and Myth and a couple other people I've never heard of. It's just the usual flight of
so it is
Twitch
the same.
people.
It's
the same thing.
Oh, I thought they got rid of it. Okay.
You know, influential gamer or whatever that was.
Whatever.
Yeah,
okay,
it's the same
it's still
thing.
there.
The nominees this year are less terrible people. Looks like, but like that's a problematic category. Has been for a long time. Like the only winner I think that I didn't just go like, oh my god, was probably Greg Miller.
Yeah.
Well, it's like because Greg Miller seems to be an all around pretty good dude, which. You know.
Well, you give an award to some of these people.
Yeah.
You never know what's going to happen in 3 months.
Yeah, but I can
because a lot of them get themselves into all kinds
but I'll just say
trouble.
straight. I mean, Ninja's going to win that.
Well, yeah, of course. Who else would you give it to?
No.
And that's honestly the kind of the theme that I've seen with these nominees in general. Not just the nominees, but the categories. Is that it's very obvious that Jeff is trying to get the hooks into the mainstream and get celebrities to come and musicians to come, and if not come, at least tweet about it or whatever. Because like half of these categories are like voice actors, artists, things like that. They're not the usual awards that you would expect.
There's not even a best graphics category.
There's not. There's not like best first-person shooter. It's just best action game. They're all kind of jammed in there together. So anyway, let's get through these. There was one other change. Oh, there's no most anticipated game this year. They cut it.
Sure.
I don't know why. To me, that's one of the more exciting categories in any award show.
When he asked for like suggestions on how to improve them after last year's show, and I think the number one thing was get rid of most influential gamer or whatever that was.
Yeah, well, he just changed.
He just changed the name. Technical.
He's not going to get rid of it though, because you need all that YouTubers fans to come and watch the stream. So
or maybe maybe if Ninja hadn't blown up the way Ninja blew up, he wouldn't be doing it this year. If there wasn't like some kind of breakout star.
Oh, dude. There is nothing more important in the world to Jeff Keighley than making sure, one, Ninja is at that show, and two, if he's not, that he tweets about it or goes on his YouTube channel and says, hey, I'm up for this award. Because he can drive literally millions of people.
Well, his reach is like, what? The entire viewership plus however much of the last year's show? Like,
exactly, yeah. So I can understand why he's taking that angle. He needs the show to be a success.
Yeah.
Jeff has taken a huge risk in doing this show, so I totally get it. So we don't want to start with Game of the Year. Let's start with some of the lesser categories. We're going to skip some of these because some of them just, in all honesty, I hate to say it, aren't very interesting. But I understand why he's doing it, but it's not something that people are going to watch. Best Debut Indie Game. The nominees are Donut County, Florence, Moss, The Messenger, and Yoku's Island Express. And we'll come back after the awards, maybe the last show for 2018. Matt and I will come back and we'll look and we'll see if we got these right. So, best debut indie game, Donut County, Florence, Moss, The Messenger, or Yoku's Island Express.
I have no fucking
idea. Don't you think it's crazy that they have a debut indie game category? Like there are tons of sequels in the indie game. indie game space. There are some, but
Yeah, I don't know.
It's funny to me that they had to create a category for indie games of debuts, and okay, sequels are okay in this one. I think that's a little weird. I'm going to go with Moss on this one.
Sure. I have no idea.
I'm surprised that they put Moss in there because it wasn't a prototypical indie game.
I've only played 2 of these. I played The Messenger and Yoku's Island Express. Yoku's Island Express is actually really good.
It is really good, yeah. It's like a pinball platformer.
Yeah, it's a pinball Metroidvania.
Yeah. It's certainly the most unique.
Yeah, it's like nothing else that I've played this year.
I can't think... The reason I chose Moss is because literally Moss, of all the games on this list, is the game that's been recommended to me the most times.
I just don't. I don't know what the political situation is. When I pick awards for award shows, I know it's a political, or there's a reason behind it that doesn't have anything to do with the quality of the item.
Yeah.
And I just don't know what the kind of the going rate on these games is among whoever's voting for these.
Pick one.
I don't know. I guess I'll go with Moss. I have no idea.
I'm surprised you didn't go with Yoku's Island Express.
I don't know.
You just talked it up.
Yeah, but I don't know if that means that anybody else cares. Like, what I think doesn't matter on this. Like, this is a weird. Who picks these? Is it like a judge panel he picks?
Yeah.
Like a
I think there's some that are voted on by fans.
Yeah. One of usually they're very clear which ones are voted by fans. So I got fan voting.
Well, back when we did the VGAs, it was very clearly delineated because it was sponsored. So it would be Mountain Dew. The best game from the fans or whatever. All right, let's move on. Best multiplayer game. Black Ops 4, Destiny 2, Fortnite, Monster Hunter World, or Sea of Thieves?
Fortnite. If Fortnite's nominated, Fortnite is winning.
That's kind of what I figured. But I would say an outside chance of Monster Hunter World, though.
I wouldn't. Fortnite. Fortnite's winning everything.
Yeah.
Why is this nominated? Fortnite didn't come out this year.
There's some fudgets going on with this show. I think Jeff came out and made some statement about how like you could choose a game of the year from a different year or something.
He vaguely implied that like Fortnite could have been nominated for that if it got enough traction among the nominators, basically. Right. But Destiny 2 Forsaken almost maybe because it's an expansion pack, but Fortnite is not a this year multiplayer game like that.
Fortnite, I'll pick Fortnite too. It stands out.
Also,
right
where's
away.
PUBG? PUBG actually did come out this year.
I know,
but it got nominated last year.
Yeah.
It's too late.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Monster Hunter World wins because I know a lot of the journalists and I'm friends with them on Facebook and other social media outlets, and they talked about it for weeks.
Yeah, but I don't think that matters. It's Fortnite because Fortnite you want Fortnite to win, so all the quote-unquote supposed millions of kids that love Fortnite, they're watching your show, will love your show because you recognize that Fortnite is the best multiplayer game. Yeah. Like that's not even a question.
It probably deserves to win. The multiplayer game I've enjoyed the most is Black Ops 4, for the record. We don't do multiplayer in our... so I can give up that award. Best sports and racing. They combined sports and racing into one category.
Yeah, well, otherwise you basically just got racing.
Yeah, it is motorsport, so I guess that makes sense. FIFA, Forza Horizon 4, Mario Tennis Aces, NBA 2K19, Pro Evolution Soccer 2019.
That's a tough one. Obviously my pick would be Forza.
I think Forza's going to win it.
It might. It's either that or FIFA. It depends whether they want to go for more like a worldwide appeal thing with FIFA. I'm like, look, we recognize the soccer game. But Forza is probably the most accessible and universally praised of those. So yeah.
Yeah, I think the journalists are got to back up their review scores for Forza Horizon 4 here. So that's why I think that it'll win. Best strategy game, let's just skip that. Best family game, skip that. That's a weird one. I'm not sure why they have that in the show. Best fighting game, BlazBlue, Dragon Ball FighterZ, Soul Calibur 6, Street Fighter 5. How is Street Fighter 5 in this?
Well, because the Street Fighter 5 arcade came out this year.
Still, though, that's kind of...
Well, it's not like BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle is a massive change-up. Dragon Ball FighterZ.
Yeah, easy one. That's definitely going to win. And so, best role-playing game is next. Now, let's say right out of the gate that they do not include action RPGs in the RPG category. So a lot of the games that are now considered RPGs are not in that category for the Game Awards.
For what it's worth, I agree with them on that.
Okay.
It's two different things.
I don't agree with that, but we have a lot.
Although
to
it does raise the question of why Monster Hunter World is in this category.
Exactly.
The other four are definitely off the bat recognize as traditionalist RPGs in a way that like Assassin's Creed Odyssey is not.
Yeah.
And I would support separating the category on that. But Monster Hunter World is an action RPG. So
well, I think it
what
should be like. I don't think it should be. They're all RPGs. So it should be like best turn-based RPG, best action RPG.
That's basically what they're doing here.
That's what they're trying to do.
But they're calling action RPGs action adventures.
Right.
Because, this show is for, the people who watch this show are people like us. But Jeff wants it to be casual gamers and people that, are only tangentially related to the industry. And most of those people are not quite going to get the distinction between an action RPG and a traditional RPG.
I don't think they'll get
assuming they even know what an RPG is.
Yeah,
a lot of people don't know that.
That's really the problem, I think. So anyway, in this category, Dragon Quest XI, Monster Hunter World, Ni no Kuni 2, Octopath Traveler, or Pillars of Eternity 2: Deadfire.
I think this is where Monster Hunter World gets its nod.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. Either that, or I wouldn't be shocked if Octopath Traveler...
Not impossible given Jeff's propensity toward favoring Nintendo.
It's not even that. It's just, again... It's another one of those games that I saw the journalists just gushing over on social media.
Yeah, but I also think maybe they didn't tweet about it, but I think after a couple of weeks they
figured it out.
Yeah, not a lot of these people finished that game. Yeah. Come on.
So we both agree with Monster Hunter.
I think it's Monster Hunter World's bone.
Yep.
No pun intended, considering how many bones you have to harvest in that freaking game.
Let's see, next. And here's where we start getting into the categories that he wants to get celebrities to the show using. But not yet. First is Best Action Adventure Game, which, as you said, a lot of the action RPGs are rolled in here.
Matter of fact, they're all action RPGs except the one I think is going to win.
Right. Yep. So Assassin's Creed Odyssey, God of War, Marvel Spider-Man, Red Dead Redemption 2, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Yeah, and that's Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah. So can we just say now...
Unless they're doing the thing where the winner...
We don't want to give one game all the awards.
Yeah, so unless they're doing the thing where the winner of Game of the Year can't also win its individual category, in which case probably Game of the God of War.
Yeah. I don't know. Might be Spider-Man.
Could be. I mean, in the wake of Stan Lee, maybe Spider-Man gets a bump.
That's true. That's a good point. Although I think everything's maybe already tabulated. But who knows?
It's not too late.
Who knows how that goes?
They got a few weeks.
I mean, can we just say right now that any category that Red Dead Redemption 2 is in, we think it will win?
Unless there's a thing where they don't want to give Red Dead Redemption Game of the Year and its genre category, then yes.
Yeah.
If they want to spread out, which they might for the sake of, kissing up to as many developers as possible, then I'd say God of War gets this.
Yeah. Red Dead Redemption 2, I think.
Yeah.
Next...
Red Dead Redemption 2 with a caveat on the repetitive, if they don't want to... Because we've had that thing before where, that's happened. I think they've done that before where it's like the Game of the Year didn't win its category.
Yep, that's happened a lot.
And you were like, how can it be the Game of the Year if it wasn't the best RPG or whatever? Yeah.
I went back in the VGA days. I went round and round with Keeley about this when we'd have, our pre-production meetings. And I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. And then we would do our own Game of the Year awards on GT. And to be fair, people would complain because one game would win a ton of awards. Mm-hmm. And we'd explain it to them. They're like, oh, I get it. I just don't want to see the same game winning so many. It's like, why? If it's the best game, it should win. But people tend to want to see the love spread out a little bit more. Mm-hmm. I don't. To me, it's like the best game should win.
I think it's two different camps, and you're getting complaints one way or the other.
Yeah. So best action game, as I mentioned, this is where they put first-person shooters. It's Call of Duty Black Ops 4, Dead Cells, Destiny 2, Far Cry 5, and Mega Man 11. That is a really weird category.
Yeah.
When you have Mega Man 11 against Call of Duty, that's a really strange category.
Yeah, and Dead Cells. I don't know.
Dead Cells. Yeah, it's very weird. It's like kind of the catch-all. It's like
my guess would be Black Ops 4.
It's got high reviews.
I don't think that matters. I'm looking at marketing potential here. I'm thinking Black Ops 4 is probably your winner, or Destiny 2. I think whichever one Activision wants to win wins.
Which the way Activision is talking about Destiny now, it's Destiny.
Oh, I don't know. I think it's Black Ops 4 because I think they're cutting their ties on Destiny.
I guess that was kind of my point. I guess you're right. It's like they have to go one way or the other with it, right? They either need to find every way to pump it up to make it more successful than it is, or just get rid of it.
Or just like keep pushing Black Ops 4 because Black Ops 4 has the momentum right now. So I would say Black Ops 4.
I'll go Destiny 2 just so we have one different pick. How about that? Best VR or AR game: Astrobot Rescue Mission, Beat Saber, Firewall 0 Hour, Moss, or Tetris Effect.
I'm going to guess this is Astrobot.
It should be Astrobot.
Not necessarily, but I think Astrobot has been pretty universally praised in the press. I'd say maybe an outside, like a dark horse Tetris Effect, because it just came out. It's going to be fresh in people's minds. And it is a pretty, memorable game. I don't know if the other three really have the cachet to do it. Astrobot just got praised by it's VR's Mario 64 moment. It says like the effusiveness around that game was so big that would be my guess that that is going to get the nod on this one.
Yep, I agree with you again. So here's best indie game, not just best indie debut game. Yeah. Although I don't really see any sequels on this list either. What the hell's going on?
Isn't debut like first game from a studio?
Is it?
Yeah. Like it's like the first game made by a studio. Because it can't be debut. Yeah. That has to be what debut means.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It's the studio's first game.
I think you're right. So, best independent game from a studio that's made a game before.
Yeah.
This is really getting tangled up. Celeste, Dead Cells, Into the Breach, Return of the Obra Dinn, which apparently I need to play.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I have not even touched it, but it's getting a lot of buzz everywhere. And The Messenger, which is also getting a lot of nominees.
Mm-hmm. This is Celeste, because it's the only one on that list that's nominated for Game of the Year.
It's absolutely going to win. And it's also a nominee for Game of the Year.
Yep.
So done and done, because it's not going to win Game of the Year. So,
–
although who knows? The Walking Dead did win Game of the Year one year.
Yeah, but The Walking Dead wasn't up against a Rockstar game.
Yeah, that's true. And now here's where we get into like the more Hollywood stuff: best performance, best audio design.
You're skipping games for impact.
Yeah, I'm gonna skip that one.
I don't know what that means, and I
think it's games that have a cultural message.
Yeah, it's like a social impact. Yeah, but like, look, I'm on board with the idea of Life is Strange being part of that, but just episode 1.
Yeah, just that one, Matt.
How do you know that that's gonna pay off properly later? Like, okay, sure.
Then there's best score, best art direction, and we'll pick it up here. Best narrative, basically best story in a video.
Just writing, basically.
Detroit Become Human, God of War, Life is Strange 2, again, episode 1.
Episode 1.
Marvel Spider-Man, and Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah, it's going to be Red Dead Redemption 2, even though it should be God of War.
I think that's a tough category.
It is. Well,
because I could make arguments for Red Dead, Spider-Man, or God of War.
I can make arguments for everything.
And there are people who will make arguments.
I can make arguments for everything in there except Detroit, which is ridiculous that it's even in this.
I think a lot of people will disagree with you on that one, though.
I don't think they will.
Only for story though, not for any other part of it. But a lot of people really like the story of Detroit.
Well, that's their problem.
So your pick was Red Dead. Red Dead
yeah.
as well. Best game direction. What does that mean?
I don't know.
Camera angles and cinematics?
No, I think it means like how all the pieces come together to be more than the sum of its parts kind of thing, like the concept of the game being executed well. That would be my assumption, that like it's just like a slick total package.
Or they just had to create a category so that they could get the guy from A Way Out to come back.
That is also possible, because I don't see any other reason why that game is mentioned.
I hate to say it, but
unbelievable.
Honestly, I would not be surprised.
But the description of best game direction on their announcement was something about like innovation and execution, and it's just like it all came together real well, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which again, it's Red Dead.
Detroit Become Human is a winner for that, or a nominee for that.
Don't look at me. Like, maybe if I ran my own version of the Razzies for video games.
And once again, Red Dead Redemption 2 is a nominee. And I think both of us...
I don't think that's a question.
It'll win again.
Red Dead.
Yep. Best
Not me.
Right.
Mind you.
Yeah.
But
this is what we think the journalists are ultimately going to pick as the winners. Best ongoing game. I guess Jeff didn't want to have a title card that said Best Games as a Service, but that's what this category is.
Well, you had it last year, same thing.
Yeah. Also, like on the press release, the second category listed, like it's like seems like a big.
He talked in the big feature article about this that ran like a week or so ago. He talked at length about how awards and how Game of the Year stuff is going to have to like figure out how to deal with games that stay around for as long as they do, because it's not like it's not like movies where there are discrete packets of time that come out every couple of years and tell a continuing story in specific chunks.
Yeah.
Like no one's going to dispute that Avengers 4 is a different movie from Avengers 3, but like people put the work of a full game development cycle into a year's worth of an ongoing game or a game as a service, then how do you recognize that?
Yeah.
You can't call it a new game,
Nope.
but you got to be, so this is as good a way to do it as any at this point, until someone comes up with a better idea.
Seems like Jeff feels it's a big category. The second one listed on their press release.
Well, if you look at, the nominees on this are,
Big games.
big games that are played by a lot more people than play a lot of the games nominated for Game of the Year.
You're right.
So
here they are: Destiny 2, Fortnite, No Man's Sky, Overwatch, and Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege.
yeah, that's Fortnite.
Yep, Fortnite.
I appreciate the No Man's Sky nod because they have been working very hard on making that game something special. But this is Fortnite. This is where so they can give something to Fortnite
Yep.
in a high-profile category to like help close out the show.
Yeah, and hopefully have Ninja show up and go on stage and all his fans tweet about the Game Awards and blah, blah, blah. And then you have that social footprint metric that you can use that Jeff will be able to use when he tries to get sponsors for next year's show. And then the final category, and again, these are not all the categories. We cut a bunch of them. We just kind of chose the interesting ones, or at least the ones we thought would be of interest to you guys. The last one, Game of the Year. Nominees, 6 nominees: Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Celeste, God of War, Marvel Spider-Man, Monster Hunter World. I'm kind of surprised to see there.
Yeah, Monster Hunter World sold a lot of copies.
It did, but still. Red Dead Redemption 2, of course.
So this is, I think, Red Dead. I would love to be surprised by God of War, Spider-Man getting it, but this is Red Dead.
You can't have all the journalists give a game a perfect 10
Yeah.
and then not give it Game of the Year. You just can't.
It's not in my Game of the Year running, but
Yeah.
I think that is the no-brainer pick here.
Undoubtedly. So lots of Red Dead, lots of Fortnite.
Rockstar's still not going to show up. I mean,
That was actually on the drive over here. I was thinking about that. You know that Jeff is just hoping so hard that Rockstar comes to something. They never
do.
They never do.
That might be the one caveat that keeps Red Dead from sweeping, is that if you know that you're just going to continually be giving these awards out to nobody,
yeah,
that makes for kind of a bad show.
It does.
So there might be an encouragement to maybe
I hate to say it,
and
but
run around that by giving it to people who are going to frickin' get there.
who cares? Yeah, because the Rockstar doesn't care.
And guess who's going to be there? Sony Santa Monica and Insomniac.
Oh, absolutely. They're 10 miles away.
Yeah. So
They're absolutely going to be there. So could it be a TGA shocker when something other than Red Dead wins?
Well, I think we'll know earlier than that, because you'll just see if you can catch the 5-second clips where they give awards out in between trailers and interviews with people screaming about the Oscars.
Yeah.
You'll be able to take the temperature early on, I think, of whether Red Dead is going to, whether they're giving them to Red Dead anyway, and they're just doing like they couldn't be here, so we're accepting it in their behalf thing, or if they're just going to like cut Rockstar out of the picture because they're not going to make for good TV.
Because think about it, the finale of the show is Game of the Year.
Yeah.
And you go through this pomp and circumstance, and then nobody comes on stage?
What do? You get the guy who voiced Arthur to come up, maybe. And
they might have to do
because he'll
something
probably
like
be there because he's nominated for Best Voice Performance,
Right.
so maybe he's their stand-in
Yeah.
or something.
So it looks like Red Dead's just going to clean up.
That could actually be fun if he gets clearance from Rockstar to like be the advocate to do that, and he just comes up and accepts it as Arthur over. And
That
he's
would be kind of awesome.
well, sure. I mean, we're kind of running out of space for these, but it's like that could be fun if they do that.
Yeah.
But,
So yeah, I mean, based upon what we're saying, it's going to be Fortnite and Red Dead Redemption 2 night for the Game Awards. And they're what, December 7th? Is that right?
I don't know.
Early December.
It's the same.
Smash
It's the same
Brothers-
day as Smash Brothers.
Smash Brothers, yes, the 7th, cut out of the awards because it comes out on the day the awards happen, which I guess
Well, the
makes
cutoff
sense.
already happened, I think.
Did it?
End of October, I think it was.
That can't be.
No?
Well, Red
Well,
Dead.
then how did you say they're
Red
already...
Dead's on here.
Oh. They must have... I don't remember what the date was then.
Usually it used to be for the VGAs, it was December 15th.
It's way before that. Like last year was like November or something.
Yeah.
November 23rd.
So Smash is out.
I mean, look, clearly it's before... It's like sometime around now because Pokemon Let's Go isn't in here.
Yeah.
Not a lot of...
Or maybe it just...
There's not really any Nintendo in here, is there?
No. I mean, that was to me the glaring... They threw Nintendo a couple bones, like Mario Tennis Aces.
Mario Tennis a couple places. The Labo is in there for like Best Family Game or something.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I mean...
They got to throw something at him, otherwise Nintendo's not going to give him that Metroid Prime 4 trailer.
Well, also Keely's no stranger to showing Nintendo the love. I mean, he's not. If there was a Nintendo game that was worth nominating, he'd be in here.
Yep.
But as
it shouldn't be. It's not supposed to be up to him, by the way. But who knows how it all goes down.
As we've said before, it's not a great year.
Yeah, I do know. Back in the VGA days, that the journalist voting was legit. Like those nominees and winners were determined by journalists, because I sat there and watched all the emails roll into the inbox, and I watched them sort through all the votes, and so I know that was legit. But I haven't worked on the Game Awards to know exactly like how they're doing things. So, and I don't want to make assumptions about it either.
Yeah.
So there you go. The Game Awards 2018 coming at you December 7th.
Apparently, the stream. We lost the stream during Red Dead Redemption 2 discussion again.
No.
Rockstar PR working overtime.
I will say this. So not only have we been getting weird copyright notices for the first 2 episodes of GameFace, literally 3 years old, our first hour of gameplay from Red Dead Redemption 2 was blocked by Rockstar.
Wow.
And there are people who have put up the entire game. And for whatever reason, Rockstar zeroed in on us and blocked. Didn't just say, you can't monetize this, blocked the video. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if they caught wind of our discussions and went after. I don't know. I don't want to assume anything, but a little weird.
I'm interested to see. I wonder if they're doing the same thing to Vic Lucas.
I don't know.
He put up a tweet the other day about Red Dead's officially not in my Game of the Year running for this thing. And Rockstar sees.
It sees all.
They see you.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on. We're going to talk next about Final Fantasy 15. Or I'm sorry, Tetris Effect. I didn't know if we'd ever talk about Tetris on GameFace other than to just kind of reference it offhand. But Mizuguchi has created his own take on... And Mizuguchi, for those of you who don't know, he's the guy who created Luminous, Space Channel 5.
Tons of rhythm-based and
always
music-based
stuff. Yeah. And he took on Tetris and created this crazy psychedelic VR version of the game. Matt, you've been playing it. It's been getting pretty high review scores. Not astronomical or sky high, but
it's no cowboy game.
No, it's not. How do you feel about Tetris Effect?
I like it. I mean, it's basically Luminous with Tetris.
So explain that, though.
It's that kind of big, sparkly, rhythm, beat-driven thing. The music reacts to everything you do, whether you're moving the block or spinning the block or dropping the block, or matching stuff, clearing lines, and the background and the kind of the music and the background and everything sort of responds as you match more and more lines and gets more and more frantic and more intricate as you go on through the level, and sounds really cool, looks really cool. It's got a neat sort of aesthetic that kind of changes every time you jump to a new level. There's
that's very much like Luminous.
Yeah, and a lot of it, it has that kind of those particle effects and all that crazy stuff, like you can see here. It's worth noting that whoever's doing this is not very good.
They're just waiting for that long bar. Just waiting for that one long bar to just send it down the left alley.
One interesting thing in this game is you can save a piece. So if you see the piece,
like that long bar that you need.
No, you see the piece in the upper left, next to the well, as they call it. So that's your saved piece. You can if you get a piece you don't like right now, you can hit the trigger, the shoulder button, and swap it with whatever you've got saved in the upper left. So you can do that, and you can do that once per piece, per drop. So you can, if you get like one of those S pieces that you just can't figure out where you want to put it right now, you can throw it in the bin and save it until you have a place to put it. Or if you want to save a long piece, you can do that and have like that loaded up whenever you need it to clear Tetris or that kind of thing. So there's a little bit of strategy in that. That's
now,
cool.
Is there any gameplay mechanics built around music and rhythm? Like, do you get multipliers if you like place pieces on the beat or anything like that?
Not in the standard game, but there's two modes. There's like a campaign called the Journey, where you kind of go through little groups of levels that kind of go along this sort of spiraling path, and you go through all the different like backgrounds and songs, and they get faster as you go along, and you see all these things as you move. Some of them get pretty fast, and actually beyond. I am not any kind of Tetris expert, and pretty early on they're dropping as fast as I can figure out where to put them, and it gets pretty frantic.
So it ramps up quick.
Yeah, I thought so, but I'm not very good at Tetris, so your mileage may vary. I was more of a columns kid, Sega. And then there's another mode called I can't remember what it's called, Event or something like that. But basically, you go to this mode, and it shows you a giant globe, picture the whole planet, and you pick an avatar, which you can unlock 200 avatars. You start with one, a little fish.
Okay.
And then you put in your location, like you pick where you are on the globe, and then it shows you little spots of light everywhere, all over the globe, all the people playing Tetris Effect.
Oh, really?
And they
That's
glow.
kinda cool.
And so there's so there's a bunch of different like permutations of the game you can play in this mode, and they're all colored different. So there's a classic, and there's I'm not gonna get them wrong, but there's classic, there's adventure, there's I think there's focus, and there's chill. And I think it's chill. It might be something else. But those are all four different colors. So you'll see a color on each light that indicates what type of mode those people are playing.
Okay.
So like classic is basically classic Tetris. So there's like timed, or there's endless, or there's that kind of thing. Focus is like you have a thing where you have to like do something specific, or you're concentrating on achieving a certain type of goal. Adventure is like weird permutations where like there's a permutation where like there's dark blocks so you can't see them, but you get points for clearing them. There's one where like every 7 or 8 pieces you place, like a long block will just drop in a random slot, and you have to like keep clearing things while it's kind of dropping these blocks every
Stuff that
few
you're
turns.
not in control of.
But yeah, you can't quite. And then eventually starts dropping 2 at a time, and then 3 at a time, and like so it gets more and more frantic. And then the chill ones are essentially
they drop slow.
They're slower and kind of like there's like a never-ending mode where you just keep playing and playing and playing until you fall asleep or gets too stoned to play, I guess. And so there's a bunch of different things that way, and that's how you unlock the different avatars and things. You can see all your friends, what level they are, kind of how which is based on like your score and how long you played, and you can see all their avatars sort of floating around the planet and match yourself up with their high scores on the leaderboards and stuff. So, but that's basically what the game is those two things.
So it doesn't really sound like Mizuguchi has really taught an old dog any new tricks.
Well, I'd say that the permutations in event mode keep it interesting. You're not looking at something like a reinvention like Tetris Attack or something like that necessarily. But it is, very pretty, and if you have a good sound system, like the beats are rocking, so to speak.
As the kids say.
If you're into kind of the music, element of it, I think it pulls that off very well. I haven't played it in VR because my PlayStation VR is still sitting in the closet. I'll probably pull that out before Game of the Year to play Astrobot and give some of this stuff a spin before we make some decisions.
Well, it definitely wouldn't give me motion sickness.
No, well, probably not. Although there's some fun and surprises in terms of how they approach stuff. So like a lot of it is kind of this psychedelic, rockin' club beats sort of thing.
Yeah.
But like there was one level
like all Mizuguchi's
but there was like one level I got to that was just total silence with a bunch of windmills, and every time I placed the pieces, a different creaking wood sound would happen, and as you matched more and
crazy.
more lines, as you cleared more and more lines, like the wind would pick up and the windmills spun faster, and like the wind sound, like the wooden creaking sounds got more and more urgent, kind of. And that was the whole level. That was the whole
Wow.
thing. So like you clear like in the campaign, you clear like 36 or so lines, and you usually move on to the next stage. And there's usually like three to five like escalations of the music and the stage background and stuff. If you've played something like Luminous or like Rez, which is also a Mizuguchi game,
Yep.
you
mentioned
pretty
that
much know what
first.
you're. I mean, there's the in the effect, the event mode or whatever that's called, effective. I can't. It begins with an E, I think. As you scroll through the different types, there is like a meditating figure there that looks almost exactly like the Rez
No.
guy.
Uh-huh.
So there's some references to stuff like that.
How much is this game?
40?
Whoa.
30 or 40?
Whoa. Oh my gosh.
I think it's 30.
Are you? That's still way too much.
I didn't mind.
Really? Dude, this game should be free.
No, it shouldn't.
Tetris is just like
there's a lot of
nothing now.
No, there's a lot of work in this game and a lot of like cool twists on it in terms of presentation. I like it.
I get that, but dude, there's no way I'm spending $30 for a Tetris game. Not gonna happen. I don't care if it like the blocks fall out of the ceiling and land in my lap. Like I'm spending $30 for a Tetris game.
I don't know. You seem to be in the minority on that one. I would have thought the same until I saw a bunch of the reviews and. Yeah, I like Mizuguchi both as a designer and as a person.
So do I.
I know him, and like
I'm
like, all right, I'll give it a shot. I'm not even a huge Tetris person, but I'll give it a shot. But I've been pretty absorbed by this.
I mean, it's Tetris. Tetris is great.
Yeah.
But it's Tetris. I can get like 8 versions of this for free on my phone.
Yeah, but they don't look or sound like this.
Yeah.
Like it's it's in HDR, 4K. It looks really cool, and you can play it in VR if that's your thing.
I would spend max $15 for this.
Oh, and I forgot there is the effect mode or this focus mode or something where I always forget I have it. You activate it when the bar fills, and basically time stops, and you can basically see the counter counting up.
Yeah.
You get huge points based on how many lines you clear while that mode is active. So that's another permutation to it. But again, I keep forgetting I can do that. So
I just feel like Tetris has become like free, like shareware at this point. Like would be willing to pay the $15 because I love Miz. And because I want to support him, $30, no way. I would never pay that much for a Tetris game, ever. I would have 25 years ago.
I don't know. What was the last good Tetris game? Tetris Attack on the DS?
I mean, what is a bad Tetris game? There actually is one, but it's hard to screw up Tetris. It's a very simple game. That's why it's so great.
But it's like there's a difference between, some free browser version and this.
Is there, though?
Yeah.
Is there a difference between that and me listening to music on my phone while I play the free browser version?
I mean, in the sense that it's like nicely synced and it all has something to do with like the presentational background, sure.
Yeah.
But if you don't care about that,
that's why I'd pay $15 for it.
But like,
because it's a Miz game.
I don't have another version of Tetris that I can play on a modern system on my 4K TV that looks like it was built for that. And that matters to some degree to me. So yeah, I don't.
I'm just saying, from my perspective, I would never pay that much money for Tetris. I just wouldn't. I couldn't bring myself to do it. It does look great. I mean, it does look like the best version of Tetris from the last 10 years or whatever.
Whatever that's worth.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember the last Tetris. It probably was Tetris Attack.
Yeah.
On the
I think
DS.
that's the last one that actually kind of changed things a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's a hard ask for me. $30 for this. But different strokes for different folks. And the other thing, too, is that a lot of people who play games aren't our age. They weren't alive when the first crazy Tetris rush happened. I'm sure they know about it and they've heard about it, but they probably have never bought one and probably don't have one on their system. So it's not like I'm saying, like, why would they release this? That's not what I'm saying at all. But I personally, as someone who's been playing games for a really long time, I would never pay that much for a Tetris game. I'm assuming I could probably find a cart for my 3DS for like $2 or whatever.
I would be surprised.
Or download it on the eShop for $5.
Tetris Attack is not cheap now.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, anything of value on a Nintendo system when it goes out of print does not get cheaper.
Yeah.
That's just how it goes.
That's true.
But I mean, my gold standard for Tetris remains Tengen, the Tengen Tetris.
Yeah, it's good.
So I thought the Nintendo one was kind of bleh.
Yeah.
But the Tengen one that they made them pull from the market, that was a pretty great version of Tetris.
Yep. So there you go, Tetris Attack. We think it's $30,
I think so.
and it's on all platforms.
It's on just about everything.
Yeah, PC, Switch, PS4,
Majora
Xbox One.
Tom says $39.99.
Whoa, holy cow!
So 40. Yeah.
I would never spend that. Some of you may. You may have never really gotten into Tetris, and I'll say this: if you've never really played Tetris,
I've spent $40 on dumber things.
yeah, I'm sure I have too.
If you went with,
I'm saying if I have the choice, knowing
Right.
going in.
but I've paid almost that much to go see bad movies. So,
But between you and your girl.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, I've wasted copious amounts of money in my life. I'm not saying I haven't. But in a lot of cases, it's something that happened where it didn't seem like I was wasting money at first, and then I ultimately did.
Right.
In this case, right out of the gate, to me, I feel like I'm wasting money, and so I just wouldn't.
Well, I promise you are not.
Okay.
Unless you don't like Tetris. This is not going to change your mind if you don't
I don't know
like
if I've ever
Tetris.
met somebody who said they did not like Tetris.
I don't know.
I think people like it more than others.
I'm sure
but
there's someone on the internet that hates Tetris.
there's someone on the internet that hates everything. Guaranteed. All right, let's move on. Now we are going to talk about Final Fantasy 15, and I never thought we were going to talk about this game again because
I'm also happy about this thing because I beat you to this news.
you did. Absolutely. You texted
One of the
me
few
about-
times I texted Shane about something, he's like, "What?"
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah, I was busy doing other stuff. I didn't even see that it had gone through the site. So, Final Fantasy 15, should we start with first? First, Tabata resigned.
yes, resigned.
Right.
It's
Which
slightly implied that he resigned in the way that the Telltale staff resigned.
right.
But
Yeah, it really doesn't seem like he resigned at all.
yeah, it seems like this was just like something, we don't know what happened, I don't think, but something happened where like, because even if he resigns, why do you then kill the project?
Because he didn't resign.
Right.
He was let go, definitely. And I think we know why. It's because all the DLC was just basically canceled except for one episode.
Except the one that was too far along,
Right.
basically.
The next one that's supposed to come out
Yeah.
is still coming out. And Square Enix says, "Oh, we're still putting all our effort into it. All the other ones."
But they killed 3
Gone.
out of the 4 upcoming DLCs.
And let's keep in mind that this DLC stuff was promoted before the game was even released. We've known about the DLC for this game forever. I was actually shocked.
I thought this was new stuff.
No, the Noctis one isn't. I know for
Oh.
sure we knew about the Noctis episode a long time ago.
Because I thought they released a whole bunch of other DLC, and then they're like, oh, wait, there's more, kind of thing. It's
Possible. I know the Noctis one we've known about for like ever.
I've only vaguely been paying attention.
Me
but-
too. I actually went back and read my game eval for Final Fantasy.
Yeah, I thought this was like, I
15
think this,
today.
yeah, they're saying, like, Vincent's saying it was the second batch of DLC that they announced earlier this year or something.
Oh, okay.
Because they put out everything that they initially had announced was going to come out, including the patches that quote unquote fix the game, but I'll never know. And I ain't playing that again. I'm sorry, but like because I remember they announced a whole bunch of other stuff, and people were like, "Oh my God, they're going to keep supporting this! Like that's amazing." So like, I mean, well, some people were, it's amazing. Some of us were like, "Are you kidding?"
Yeah.
Like, cut the line. Cut the line and fish again. Like you're done. You screwed it up. Bring on 16.
Now, Square Enix did say that the studio that basically was formed for Tabata,
Yeah, Tabata's like home studio basically. They made for
yeah,
him.
Luminous Productions lost $33 million.
Woo!
Yeah, and you know Square Enix,
Square Enix, no stranger to losing money.
they're not, but they're also no stranger to not tolerating losing money either.
Yeah, certainly we remember what happened to Sakaguchi after the disastrous Spirits Within movie.
Absolutely.
Which they also set up a studio for, specifically.
absolutely.
They set up
And-
that Hawaiian studio just to do the render farm for that.
They had a server farm in Hawaii
Just to render that.
film.
Yep.
It's
And that was going to
really
be their whole. I had friends who were like, Square's going to revolutionize how movies are made. This is how movies.
because
Square's
they
going
put
to
a bunch of PCs in a building.
Well, because they legitimately thought that Square told the best stories in storytelling.
yeah,
Like they thought that was, the people who made Xenogears were going to revolutionize how film was told or something. I don't know. I could never understand all that. It was also I'm sure you remember this. Very few people seem to remember this. So there was a behind, because I looked for it online, and it doesn't seem to exist online because I think it was only shown inside Square's theater at E3 this one year, and I guess it would have been 2001 or 2002.
Okay.
But it was a promo they ran, because remember you used to go in the Dome theater, and like you just sit down and look up at the stupid dome, and you'd have to watch everything in a circle. For all that. So one of the things they ran that year in their little theater was this promo for Play Online, where like people were playing what was going to eventually be Final Fantasy XI, and it wasn't. None of that was out yet, and they were stuck on a thing, and a big boss showed up or something. So they called like the most badass guy they knew, and like it cuts to him like walking through the streets, and he gets like a page on his pager that like he stops into like a random like Square internet cafe thing and sits down and logs in on Play Online, and like he jumps into the game, and it was like, oh, he's here, great. So they go and beat the boss, and like basically it was like this trailer that the whole point was like Play Online is going to be how you play video games online in the future.
Right.
Like it was like, it was I think it was set in like 2008 or something.
Does it still exist, Play Online?
No. Oh, no. It was just that thing that launched with Final Fantasy XI. Final Fantasy XI and Tetramaster, the card game.
Yeah.
And but it was basically like this really embarrassing live action like promo commercial thing that like was about how like Play Online is going to be how video games are played online, because that is going to define your life and all that. And like you're going to have things on your pager that tell you like
your pager.
Because a pager, like a flip phone, because it was before smartphones, and like it was he was like getting like the on like a little burn. It's like he had a little burner drug dealer phone for when people called him about Final Fantasy, and like. It was literally like he's walking along and he sees, oh, look, they need my help, and he just like turns and walks into a square, like a Square Play Online center kind of. It was like, it was just like this like level of ambition that was like, really, like you think that's gonna happen? Okay, it was that, and like on the heels of the failure of Spirits Within and Square's attempt to make Square Pictures and shit, like it was just like that period where Square thought they were going to rule the world,
and very quickly
everyone was
realized,
like, "What?
Probably not."
No.
Yeah. Let's see how that works out for you. So Tabata basically fired. Let's be honest, he was fired. The studio had lost $33 million, but Square Enix says that Luminous still has a huge unannounced AAA project that it's been working on.
Yeah, well, that was supposed to be like Tabata's like pet project,
right.
I thought.
And that's that's Square Enix's excuse for dropping the DLC for Final Fantasy 15. It's saying we needed Luminous to jump off of that and start working on this other project.
Yeah, and they filed like a well, I don't remember the specific term for it, but it's like basically you file a thing that says, we are expecting to lose a tremendous amount of money on this thing, just so the government and the shareholders are all ready for this.
Right.
Like it's basically a preemptive, we fucked up, like buckle up here, like it's coming,
Yep.
So and that kind of came before Tabata and all this stuff dropped. Like it was like a day or two before.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
So everyone's like, "Oh, I wonder what that is." And because people were assuming that it just was like they lost that they had to lose that money because they were spending the money to set the studio up.
Right.
Like, it was like, oh, we sunk that money into setting the studio up, and it will pay off, in future years. But you just need to know that this is a thing on it's a line item on our expenses. And then and then like they'd announced like a live stream that apparently turned out to be to announce this.
Yeah, I know.
That everything was burning.
Yeah.
Like, it was like.
It's Japan,
it's
man.
So weird. like everyone's like, oh, there's going to be an release date, or going to have new footage of the Noctis episode, or like that. And it's like, no, it's all gone. We're all dead. Like it's all over. Like, please be excited. I don't know. Please look forward to nothing.
So what do you think is going to happen with Final Fantasy? So I was assuming that Tabata Studio was going to make Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah. I mean, I assume Final Fantasy 16 will exist in some form.
I mean, do we even have to worry about it for another 12 years?
Probably not. I mean, look, at this point, like, they should just concentrate on getting Final Fantasy 7 Remake out, if we're honest, And Nomura's going around saying, like, oh, Kingdom Hearts 3 is almost done, and then I can work on Final Fantasy 7 Remake. And I was like, what have you been doing? Like,
what the hell?
Like, I don't think that game is nearly as far along as anyone thinks it is.
Well, they've already had 2 rounds of hiring for it, public hiring. And so,
7 is way out there. 7 is next-gen material.
I don't know about that. Probably right on the borderline. It'll be a dual release where it'll come out and you'll be able to play it on
absolutely best case scenario, it's a PlayStation 5 launch title.
Yeah.
I think most likely you will have had your PlayStation 5 for some time before you are playing Final Fantasy VII Remake.
That's dastardly.
Episode 1 of 5.
So Tabata also said he has some private project he's been wanting to work on, and he wants to leave to work on that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Who would want to work with him?
It sounds like that Friends episode where Ross says he's going to take a break from school and work on his music.
Right, yeah.
I mean, I'm sure Tabata will be able to find work and investors soon, no problem. But like,
will he?
Maybe. I
mean,
look, I don't know.
Final Fantasy 15 was a disaster.
Yeah, but he was
brought in to save
He was a janitor on that. You can only polish Nomura's turd so long until it has to come out.
Right.
And like, that got a lot grosser as an analogy than I really planned it to be. But like,
I had that visualization. Did not want to have.
Because at that point, Tabata's literally in his colon.
Right.
Polishing it. There it goes.
Send it out.
Oh, that 13th one is not good. But so look, I don't blame Tabata at all for any shortcomings Final Fantasy 15 has, because it certainly had a lot of them.
Yeah.
But the people were kind of going around on Twitter like tributes to, I mean, he didn't die. Like,
he's still alive.
It was like oh, Tabata, salute Tabata, and like has the man ever made anything good?
Yeah.
Because like, I don't want to be super harsh, but the guy made Crisis Core and The Third Birthday. Like, those games sucked.
Yeah.
Sorry, Crisis Core fans, it's true. But even if you love Crisis Core for some reason, you have to admit The Third Birthday is awful.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, he has no pedigree, really.
No. I mean, he's got a name. He's got, visibility, so I think he'll still be able to find work or investors or whatever he wants to do. But it's weird that everybody acted like we lost some kind of giant from Square's from Square's arsenal, because I mean, he's basically a janitor to them. He comes in and cleans up messes.
Yeah, I think any developer from Square Enix is going to get that treatment, though. For whatever reason, the otaku just romanticized Square Enix out the
Well, I mean, I understand if someone like either was looking forward to 15 or loved 15 and like they thank him for like making sure it actually existed instead of getting canceled or came out, or I mean, he got it out, it came out, it sold millions of copies.
It was like two different games stapled together, but he did get it out.
It's one of the worst things I played this generation, but it still came out and it's still so... I hate that game. I hated Final Fantasy 15. But it came out and it's like the second best-selling game in the series. Like, you can't argue with that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he did his job.
Yeah.
He did his job, and he did it better than most people probably could have. So it's weird that they would basically boot him at this point.
Weird. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure the DLC wasn't selling too well. Even the people I know who like love that game are like, oh, I'm going to wait until it's all out and buy it as a bundle when it's on sale. I'm like, well, that's not how Square wants you to do that, really.
Absolutely not.
But it's just like, just cancel the DLC and like let him make his other thing. But unless he just didn't want to do that and they couldn't come to an agreement, so they're like, okay, either put up or shut up, and he shut up, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, maybe he really just did want to leave.
Maybe.
I mean, I haven't talked to too many people that work at Square Enix in Japan that love their job. I hate to say it, but...
I mean, maybe he did feel like after all that work trying to save that game and making all this extra content for it and trying to make it a worthwhile thing for the sliver of people that still like it at this point, like, he was being disrespected by Square's, just kind of, I don't know what the word would be, not cutthroat, but like just kind of a cold way of saying like, oh, this is not working, we're just not going to do this, so screw it. And like maybe he couldn't take it like that.
Yeah, it could be that he didn't want to work there anymore, and he suddenly became the malcontent in all the meetings, hoping to get a severance instead of just leaving.
I would certainly not blame him one bit if that's what happened.
I mean, I don't blame him for anything.
For sure.
He came and cleaned up a total mess, got the game out, got it to market.
It was it to be a sale. It was a sales success.
I actually enjoyed the game, not a ton, but I actually enjoyed the time I spent with it. I mean, none of it's really his fault. Obviously, we don't know what he's like to work with day to day.
No.
So, but as far as outwardly, it's really hard to put any blame at his feet. He really kind of just, like you said, he's a janitor. He came in and cleaned up a mess and got to market. And Square Enix saying that they're not happy with the sales or whatever, it's like, You need to recalibrate. Like, if you don't think you made enough money off of Final Fantasy 15 and it sold that many copies, that's your problem, not one of your employees' problem.
I mean, my instinct is that they threatened or tried to take his new project away.
That's possible.
That, like, if they set up the studio and he's like, I want to make my own thing here, and that's kind of his reward for saving Final Fantasy 15, because he did. I mean,
he did, yeah.
Whatever one thinks of the quality of the game, it sold better than anything except one. I think was 13. What was the top selling Final Fantasy?
10, I thought.
10. That makes sense. Yeah, but it's like the number 2 or number 3 selling Final Fantasy game. Like, you can't argue with that. I mean, you can't pin 10 years of bullshit project waste, which half of which was Nomura's Versus 13 debacle.
And how funny is it that Square Enix put up with a decade of that crap, and now all of a sudden they have a short fuse?
Yeah, I don't know where. I don't know where you get off, like, kind of, messing with Tabata on that level, and like Nomura's still puttering away on Kingdom Hearts 3 at this point. I mean, if you were Sora's age when Kingdom Hearts 1 came out, you are going to be 31 when you play Kingdom Hearts 3.
That's crazy.
Like, are you kidding?
That's insane. Yeah.
And
maybe Square Enix is trying to turn over a new leaf, and it's like, look, we've been completely irresponsible in the past with our finances. We need to clean things up, square things away. And if that's the case, then I get it. Like, at a certain point, you have to say enough is enough, and we need to get the people out the door that aren't completing projects on time. It's just a little weird that they chose this time to do it.
I mean, look, Kingdom Hearts...
plenty of opportunity.
Kingdom Hearts 2 is closer to the fall of communism than it is to today. And Nomura's still got a job.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. Although we'll see for how long. Maybe once Kingdom Hearts 3 goes out the door, he follows the game out the door.
I mean, hell, I would have been on board with having Tabata come in and finish Final Fantasy VII in a timely manner.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe that's what but I'm sure he would not have wanted to do that.
Yeah.
Because then he just becomes another janitor for however long it takes to do that. Like, the man deserves
a nice paycheck.
I hope he gets, like, his investors or whatever he needs and can go make what he wants to make in peace and, be the game developer he wants to be, because it sounds like he's had a hard time of it for the last several years.
Yep. Well, all that segues very nicely into our next topic, which is game discounts, games being discounted early after release, and the game that has kind of spurred on this topic is Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Mm-hmm. So Shadow of the Tomb Raider is basically on sale for half price already.
It was already on sale for 33% off a month after release.
And now it's like you can buy it for $30 at some retailers.
I feel like that didn't sell too well.
No, it absolutely did not sell well. But what I wanted to discuss is, when is it too early to discount a game like that? Now, look, we get it. It has not sold as well as they hoped. So they're trying to get rid of some inventory and recoup some of the money back on the game. But you got to realize that there are people on Sifted that have talked about this. There are people out there who bought this game at full price just a month and a half ago. And now all of a sudden somebody else who didn't have the faith in the game can go and buy it for half of that. So people are angry, and understandably so. So when is the right time to start discounting a game? What is the break point where people who paid full price for the game aren't going to lose their crap over the game being discounted?
I think you should give it basically 3 months.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Unless it's like, I don't mind if, like, say a game comes out in October and around, like, Black Friday time, like, it's part of, like, promotions where buy this or this, you get 33% off all of them if you buy 3 games or whatever, that kind of thing. Like that's fine.
Like a flash sale, fine.
Yeah, but if you're gonna straight up be like, we're cutting the price of this down for, but even if, I mean, it was just like there were digital sales too. It was like 33% off Shadow of the Tomb Raider, like end of October, and it's like, look, it feels like I should be, it feels like within less than 90 days I should have some kind of like buyer protection or something.
You would think.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's like a price match sort of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Like you would think Amazon might have that actually.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe it does.
You can get away with that to some degree. Yeah. If something drops shortly after and you email them, they usually will give you the discounted price if you bought it within the right amount of time.
I'm guessing that's like a week.
Yeah, it's not a lot of time.
Yeah.
But stores will do that if they have a sudden sale on a weekend and you bought it on Friday. Go in and But like, yeah, for a thing that costs as much as a video game does, a full price, AAA video game, no matter how hard it bombs, I understand you want to clear out stock if you're like a physical retailer that's doing that and you're in your location or whatever. That's one thing, but this was an official across the board thing.
Yep.
And I understand the people that are upset, but I'm a little upset by it. I bought it for full price.
Yeah.
I played it. I liked it, but like, as one of the few, apparently, like I am a little bit like, hey.
Well, I think you may be the few that bought it, but I don't think you're one of the few that enjoyed it. Most people I've talked to who played the game have enjoyed playing the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I get it. Like I haven't complained to Square on Twitter or anything, but like I am on board. I'm silently on board with the people that are screaming about it. I think it's just, it feels a little fast, and it feels a little desperate, and it feels a little disrespectful to the people that were the early adopters. Without even giving, I mean, maybe if you be like, hey, if you bought it for $60, we're gonna make the first DLC free. But what if you bought the crazy $100 version?
Right.
What do you get?
That's tough. That's really tough. I think this game's kind of getting a bad rap. It definitely, it's better than its sales, absolutely. And I think once you see a game that gets discounted like that, people assume it's a bad game.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad game at all. In fact, the first thing that came to my mind was, when I read the Game Award nominees, was, oh man, what must the developers of Shadow of the Tomb Raider, what do they feel like right now?
Yeah, it's not in there at all, is it?
Not at all. Like, for anything. And you think about, how much time and effort and blood, sweat, and tears they put into this game, and it just flopped.
Yeah, and honestly, I am very impressed by the character animation in this game. Like, some of the presentational stuff in this, mainly in the cutscenes, but they're still using in-game animation, a lot of it. Like I said at the time, I'm like, I have never seen throat animation and breathing animation as good as, like, you can tell when they're breathing in the middle of a sentence. You can tell when they're, when they're breathing in or breathing out when they're thinking. Like, that doesn't happen in the in-game cutscenes so much, but in the actual, like CG stuff or the big story scenes, like, that's very impressive to me. Like that's a very hard thing to get right. The flash of the throat as someone breathes.
I think one thing I would say is, if you're in the market to buy a game this month or next month, if you can get Shadow of the Tomb Raider for $30, buy it.
Like, if you're going to do that,
it's worth every penny of that.
If you're going to do that Target buy two get one free thing, this is a fine one to put in your trio.
Yeah, I think a lot of people may just assume it's a bad game. It's not a good game. That is not the case at all.
No,
it just came out in a really busy time.
Came out at an awkward time, and it's just not different enough from the last one to.
That's its problem.
To make people like sit up and take notice.
That's its real problem. And I think if you play it, you'll see that there are differences.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to get that vibe from the game, watching the trailers or even just listening to us talk about it.
Yeah, and Square, I don't think they did any favors to it by kind of making it another, their marketing for it was very much rooted in the whole, like, becoming the Tomb Raider thing again. And it's just like, can you just be the Tomb Raider already? And she is. Like, there's not a lot of, like, becoming the Tomb Raider origin story stuff in this. She is pretty much, doing what she does, and she's still sort of closing out the story about her father and the Trinity thing, but like...
And ultimately, the title of the game is explained too.
Yeah.
We were like, why do they call it Shadow of the Tomb Raider? Eventually, when you finish the game, you understand why it's called Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I'm not going to spoil it, obviously, but... So we're saying 3 months.
Yeah, I think you let it go for a quarter before... like, if this was December, I don't think people would be having an issue, because it's right before Christmas. It's like a last-minute shopping thing. It all kind of makes sense. It's 3 months later. You've probably played and finished it within 3 months. That's probably the thing. Like, there's probably people that haven't even finished the game yet, and it's already, in October. It's already cut 33%. It's like, well, you could have just waited.
Yeah.
And,
sure. There's been plenty of other stuff to play. It's like, you didn't need to play this right away. Like, you could have waited until January when there's nothing to play, or you could have asked for it for Christmas or for the holidays or whatever. And I don't think it's just video games either. I mean, anything I buy, I think I want a 3-month period where the price isn't going to get cheaper, but that's really never the case. Pricing in general is so fluid now It's like this website suddenly drops something 15%, then the other sites are jumping to match it. It's like
yeah. Well, the trick on that is also like usually that's more related to PC gaming, and usually that works in the favor of the PC gamers. Like usually that kind of price war results in people getting better deals on codes or whatever. However that happens, that's a whole different subject.
That is a whole different perspective, though. The perspective of the person who gets it for cheaper, because they're winning.
Yeah.
And so should we hate on people because they're getting it cheaper? No.
Yeah.
I don't think
people are upset about the people getting it for a better price. They're upset about Square officially cutting bait that early.
Yeah.
You know, like
I'll say this: Square Enix is going forward with all the DLC for this game. It's got like 4 pieces of DLC still coming. In fact, on the way over here,
Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah, in fact, on the way over here, I got an alert on my phone saying I got a download code for the Forge. So Square Enix is sticking with it.
I'd just like them to fix the collectibles.
Yeah.
Because I collected a whole bunch of stuff that didn't register, and I loaded it up after they patched it, and all the stuff is fixed in my journal that I haven't collected it, but it shows it collected on the map, so I'd have to play the game again to do it. So it's just like, you didn't really fix anything, guys.
Yeah, screw that. So yeah, I guess it's a sliding scale too, depending. It's like a car. If I buy a car, I probably want a little more time before the price drops. Like a lot of it just scales based upon the investment involved.
Yeah, but your car starts losing value the instant you drive it off the lot.
That's true.
So.
It's like if I buy a baseball cap, I'm not going to be bummed out a week later if it's $3 cheaper. But if I buy a game for $60 and a month and a half later it's for half price, I'm going to be pissed.
And that also impact, like say you bought it and you haven't finished it, but you are going to finish it soon. Oops, now it's worth less on trade-in.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, if you got to sell it or whatever. Yeah, it's true.
And there's a lot of people I know who, that's their gaming budget. It's sort of like this revolving charge account.
Recycle, yeah. Either selling it to GameStop or Best Buy or going on eBay or whatever. Yeah, you got to figure eBay prices for this game now are probably at like $18.
Oh, they must be cratering.
It's bad. Square Enix seems to be in a bad spot right now. It's got Just Cause about to come out, and that game's, based upon traffic on Sifted, that game's not tracking very well.
Yeah, well, I was surprised. So I like Just Cause in general.
Yeah. It's a fun toy to play with.
Three had problems. 3 was, I don't like the structure of it. I don't like the upgrade system. They kept breaking the performance on PS4 every time they updated it and put a new expansion pack out. The frame rate would get worse. In the end, I think it's settled down into being okay, more or less. But there's a lot of people that hold some serious grudge against that series, and they don't trust 4 at all to fix any of that. And the other thing, I did not realize this, but apparently Just Cause 3 started as a free-to-play game that you'd have to buy, basically like islands or something out, and I'm like, oh my god, that explains so much about that game's design. I did not know that until a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, oh, that everything makes sense about that game now. Like the repetitiveness, the way you upgrade things, the grind on all this. Wow, what a difference.
I'll say this, and I'm no financial advisor, and I'm certainly not Michael Pachter, but I will say, if you own stock in Square Enix, I might sell it.
Yeah. Or just batten down the hatches and prepare for a bumpy ride.
Yeah. I would sell it, take your profits, and then wait for it to drop, and if you want it, buy it back at a cheaper price.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. I think see a lot of light on the horizon for Square Enix right now.
No, I think they'll bounce back eventually. But
well, yeah, of course, but...
Kingdom Hearts 3 could help.
Yeah, it's going to sell really well, but it's January. I guess it depends on how their quarters are laid out. But
and then the next really light on the horizon for them is probably Final Fantasy VII Remake.
It is.
There's not much happening.
Well, whatever Game Luminous Studios working on,
or if they can get any of that Marvel stuff out.
Come on, Matt! It's Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles on the Nintendo Switch.
Oh boy.
That's what we're looking at, though.
They need to get that Marvel stuff out.
Yeah, they sure do.
Or, show it.
All we have is that teaser trailer we looked at.
Maybe at the Game Awards, we see...
That's possible.
See something?
That's a good point.
From that?
It's possible.
I bet we'll get a Stan Lee tribute. It'd be nice time to premiere
absolutely would.
some Marvel stuff.
That would tear the house down. Make it so, Jeff Keighley.
You're welcome, Square.
It's too late for that
No,
now,
it's
though. If
not
he doesn't have it
done.
locked down, it ain't happening.
Come on, Crystal Dynamics. I know you got something up your sleeve. Or like Montreal? Was it
Yeah.
the guys who made Deus Ex? They got to be pretty far along.
Yeah, you would think.
But were they working on Guardians? I think they were. I wonder if God, do you even want a Guardians game out now in the wake of what happened with James Gunn?
Oh, no.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
It's all so complicated.
All right, let's move on. We're going to talk next about it's actually another top. It seems like in the last few months,
A few downers
we've
here.
done a lot of RIP topics
Yeah.
where something went away or a game franchise died or whatever. Here's another one, Prima Games. You guys probably remember Prima Games. Some of you may not even know what Prima Games is, and that's kind of the point. We know Prima Games because we grew up with Prima Games, and Prima Games used to make the industry's best strategy guides. And to the best of my knowledge, probably still does. I mean, unless you're talking about Japan, because the strategy guides in Japan are just godlike.
My favorite strategy guides were back in the day were versus books, and in more recent times were Double Jump.
I have not bought a strategy guide since the Nintendo 64.
I have a box full of them, full of like collector's edition strategy guides in the garage that
That's
I
how
would
Prima-
really love to get rid of.
That's how Prima tried to stay afloat.
Yeah.
It tried to create the premium product that would sell for more and create these premium guides. To me, that was the absolute wrong way to go about a pivot. That was its pivot. Let's
Yeah.
make the books more expensive.
Well, because the problem was that the internet was providing the information for free. I mean, they have been since going back to the old GameFax website. Going back to before that, the GameFax, like, God, I don't even know what you call it. You could telnet into Andy Eddy's like server thing and pull down text. Like we used to do that when I was in high school. Like
TXT files.
Yeah, you just pull down these files on how to do all the Mortal Kombat 2 moves and stuff like that. Like that was the only way you could do it. You had to know somebody.
The thing with GameFAQs is that only hardcore gamers knew about it. And so a lot of the casual folks still bought strategy guides.
Mm-hmm.
Once YouTube happened, though, that's when Prima needed to realize, hey, I can see where all this is going.
Yeah.
We need to adjust. And so finding out that Prima was going under, I went and checked out Prima's YouTube channel because, I mean, that's where people get their strategy guides now.
Yeah.
You go and you watch a video on YouTube. So I'm like, surely they figured this out, and their YouTube channel is just this awesome collection of gigantic, small, medium-sized strategy guides. Like,
Nope.
just the pin. No. Matt, I went there. They have 10 videos for Red Dead Redemption 2, which isn't terrible, because a lot of the other games, they have like 3. Mm-hmm. But the strategy guides for Red Dead Redemption 2 were like, how to put things in your satchel. Like stuff that nobody would ever get stuck on.
Oh, you said like the Black Ops thing?
Oh, yeah. Black Ops was how to open your parachute in Blackout.
Which is on screen.
I looked at its YouTube channel and I was like, oh my God. I hope nobody over there is shocked that they went under. Because to me, it's clear as day. It's like you had that cachet. You had that brand recognition. You could have created the ultimate YouTube strategy channel. And instead, it's 3 or 4 guides, quote unquote, per game, and each guide's like 90 seconds long. And it shows you how to do one thing, and it's not the one thing that everybody's confused about. It's the one thing that is so obvious that you never needed a guide for it. I was flabbergasted at how poorly this place was run, considering where it started to where it is now. Fortnite. I assumed when I went there that there would be hundreds of Fortnite videos. There were like 11. Like, it's no surprise to me at all that Prima Games went under. It not only was it slow to realize that its product was becoming obsolete, it also was slow to realize that, hey, there's this awesome new vehicle for us to make our stuff, and it's free. And we have all this brand recognition. They could have become the definitive YouTube channel for strategy guides for games, and instead, they're going out of business.
Yeah.
Will you miss them at all, Matt?
I was vaguely surprised they were still around.
Really?
Frankly. I understand the struggle of, finding a YouTube channel that isn't like, hey guys, what's up? I'm, been playing this game for.
They'll sit there for 8 minutes.
You're like, people, I just want to
Just
know.
shut up.
I just want to know where the doobly-doo is.
I don't want to hear you talk at all. In fact, unless
Yeah.
it's telling me what to do in the video game. Period.
I will say my favorite YouTube channel for that, I'll plug them, is Macca's Guides. I think it's Macca91, MAKA91. It's literally just a header. Some girl says Macca's Guides and giggles, and then they just show you the map, zoom it in, go to the gameplay, pick the thing up, show you. Yeah, there's time. I mean, it's all business. It is just pure business. Very clear, very done. Macca's Guides. If they cover, I mean, they've done a lot of Red Dead Redemption stuff, but they don't do every game. That's the kind of the problem. Is like was what Prima could have been. It's like they could have had everything. They could have done every game.
Yep, absolutely.
But
they also had access to all these games way earlier than anyone else.
They could have had everything up day one.
Print. Like, they literally, the day Red Dead Redemption 2 went live, dude, you just drop it. It's like, boom.
And once you've
Let me see you YouTubers mess.
Yeah.
Like, you could have just destroyed the market.
And once you've got like kind of the critical mass of views because you're the first only one there, and like the algorithm does the rest of the work.
Yep. Every person who needed strategy for Red Dead will be coming to you. And they didn't do any of that.
Yep.
It is mind-boggling how poorly run that company
It's also
was.
amazing how like the thing is, because I actually still have a shirt. I guess I should get rid of it because it doesn't make sense anymore. But I have a shirt that says, "No, I don't need a strategy guide." Because back in the day when you bought a game from GameStop, they
always
try to
ask
push
you,
the strategy guide.
You want a guide? You want a guide? Want to sign up for Game Informer? Want a guide?
I got to the point where I would wear that shirt when I went to pick something up, and you'd see them be like, "I have to ask you anyway." You know that, right? I'm like, "Yes, just go for it."
And look, I'll be perfectly honest with you. It's not just like gaming content on YouTube that drives me bonkers like that. It's everything. It's like some guy showing you how to change the air filter in your car. No, dude, I don't want to watch you blabber about crap I don't care about for 3 minutes before you show me how to change the air filter. I don't. Here's how I watch YouTube videos. They start, person looking for recognition starts blabbering, scrub through. Wait till you get the thumbnail of actually what you want to watch. Watch them actually do it, close video.
Yeah.
I don't watch any of the intro. I don't watch any of the outro. I scrub past all of it, watch the stuff that matters, and then close the video. And guide videos, same deal. If I go to a guide and it's like, hey guys, I really liked playing this game and I hope, and skip. Let me see, like, people don't get it. It's like, we don't care. We don't want to hear you talk about your day before I figure out how to find this thing I've been searching for the last 2 freaking hours. Like, very funny. And Prima, least of all, got it. Least of all. One thing I will say, Prima did get, let's make them short. Because all their stuff is like 90 seconds, minute 45, something like that. But it just did not produce enough of it, and it didn't produce the right content.
Yeah, but it's like the guides they did put. I mean, they were very well done.
Yeah,
like
they were
put
the
out
best.
very, very high quality guides. Like the people that worked for them, they were almost all freelance. But the people that worked for them put days and weeks and months of their lives into this, going to the game developer, playing the game themselves, finding this stuff.
It's the worst.
It's like
writing guides is, other than QA, is the worst gig in video games. It is. I actually was assigned a guide
fixing Final
one time.
Fantasy 15 is worse, I think.
I was assigned a guide one time by GameSpy. I freelanced for them for like 2 months at one point in my career. And I literally worked on it for one day and called him and was like, I can't do this. I cannot do it. I'm like, I'm sorry. It's like, I think it might be the only assignment I ever took in my life that I ultimately never completed. And just called and said, I had no way.
It's hard.
Because what it was they were offering like $500. And I was like,
wow.
Are you freaking kidding me? $500? I'm like, I need to play this whole game and then basically write a book about it? And you want to pay me $500? No way.
Well, it's like I worked periodically on Cheat on G4, and like people would always ask for more Cheat, more Cheat. That was one of the highest rated shows on the network, and like and it was always a struggle to impress upon the higher ups that like this show takes forever to
Yeah.
make. Like, you have to get to these things and show these things, and they got to a point where they wanted to like do interactive stuff. So you had to they decided to start, we're gonna do cheats that are answers to people's questions of how do I beat this or whatever.
Yeah.
And of course, they're always talking about something 3/4 of the way to the end of the game, which means you got to play through the whole thing to get to it. And you got to do, and this happened with Jeremy Hoffman too, where he was on Cheat forever, and before he went over to Game Trailers, and now at Epic, doing good stuff for Epic. But it was this constant thing where it's like, oh well, how long does it take to make it? They're like a week. For like a 2-minute segment, because you want this thing. It's like at the end of a 40-hour game, and and periodically we do think we pick things like I think one year, I think 2006, we did a bunch of them, and they're like, oh, which ones do you want to do? And like we pick stuff that we specifically knew we'd already played through. So I picked okay, I'll do a whole episode on Shadow of the Colossus because I've already finished that game. I can go to every single one, do all the time trial things, and do strategies on the time trials, and I already have them. Like the saves there, I can just do that in a day. It took me a day to do the footage for that. Whereas then to this day that happens where people, you go to things like gigs I've had where people are like, oh, we want to do some game content, great. Well, we want to do strategy, guys. I'm like, okay, that takes forever. You're talking about a team of 7 people, and they're working a month to get one thing out, and they're like, what did I really? It's like, yeah, you trust me. They're like, we didn't want to do reviews because we thought that would take longer. I'm like, no, not remotely.
Your work has just begun when you finish the game.
Yeah.
When you're doing guides.
And that's assuming you can even do. It's like to capture that. It's like you got to do it, but you also got to do it so you can clearly see what's happening. You got to do it in the case of like a TV show. You're gonna have to narrate it, which means you have to do it multiple times at multiple angles, so you have something to cover the VO with.
Yeah.
It's so labor intensive.
Well, I don't envy anyone who has to do guide content.
I have huge respect for the guys who made those guides.
Absolutely. But
guys and girls
Prima
who made those guys
is in a bind. It's watching its market share dwindle or disappear completely to YouTube or whatever. And instead of it saying, hey, we have a uniquely positioned brand that we can leverage to kind of take over this space, it instead decided to spend more money making the products it was already making, increasing its risk.
Yeah, they kind of tried to turn them into almost like hybrid art books.
Like Bibles, yeah. I mean, they were like these elaborate things with these slip cases that they're just a guide. Yep. Like some of the stuff that Prima did, they did some Zelda stuff that weren't even guides. They kind of just got into regular book publishing for a while. That makes more sense than, hey, let's make a strategy guide that instead of costing $8, costs $28. It was just a bad decision. So I do have an affinity for Prima. I've spent hours and hours and hours of my life poring over the pages of their strategy guides, but nostalgia only goes so far, and then there's reality. And the reality is it was whoever was running that place did a terrible job.
And they were the only game in town for that. I mean, because they absorbed Brady Games a while ago.
A long time ago.
And Double Jump was my favorite. They were kind of a small time outlet. They were doing a lot of the Xseed stuff, the weird niche Japanese things, but they did beautiful little manga style sized guides that had full color everything and went through every. There was a Disgaea one that went into detail and charts on things that your mind would spin. So, but they're gone too. I think they're pretty much all the guide companies are gone.
I think they are all gone. I mean, it's pretty bad when the starter guide that we created for Red Dead Redemption 2 for our patrons and our subscribers was way better than anything Prima created for Red Dead Redemption 2. That's when you know, and maybe they knew already. And
yeah, the writing might have been on the wall for a while.
It's possible, and that does tend to affect motivation and work ethic and all that kind of stuff. So,
I mean, the people that were doing the work in the trenches, it's not their fault.
Nope,
they're not the ones making the choices.
Like I said, whoever was running the place, the management, totally screwed everybody that was working there. So, Prima, rest in peace. It just seems like every week on this show, there's something else that's died or is going away,
or fired or
never coming back,
merged or purchased.
What is going on?
I think Speaking of which,
yeah.
Exo 18.
Yep, nice segue, Kyle. Yeah. So Microsoft brings back its X series of events for this year. The last one, we never did figure out when the last one was, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know.
At least 10 years ago.
Something like that.
That's safe to say, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Microsoft used to do these every year when they were a new brand and they were the new kid on the block in the console space. And then once it settled into the Xbox 360 era, it was just like, well, we don't really need to do these anymore.
Yeah, I mean they did a few of it. They did the
Yeah.
crazy super launch in 05, and I think they at least did a 06 and 07.
Yeah.
But
And so it went
sort of
away for
vanished
10
away.
years.
Yeah.
Microsoft brings it back this year. We're all excited. Microsoft, as everybody knows, has kind of been on the ropes a little bit in the industry, although 2 episodes ago we talked about how it's risen back up.
Yeah, coming back a little bit.
And it's coming back. And so XO 18 is announced, and we're like, well, it's on. Like, this is going to be the big blowout. You and I had a little bit of debate about what they're going to show. I was like, they're going to show Halo. You were like, they're going to show Gears of War.
Yeah, I thought the fact that they were in Mexico City, which is, Mexico is
Gears
the heart,
Central.
the heart of Gears fandom. I thought they were going to blow out the Gears stuff.
Nope. Why? Okay, let's run down what they showed first, and then we'll talk about why they even bothered to have this event. So the biggest story, undoubtedly.
I mean, I did think they were going to announce more developers that they bought, and they did.
They did, yeah. And that was the biggest announcement from XO18. It's that Microsoft acquired Obsidian and In Exile.
Yeah. As rumored.
Yeah, as rumored. I think Obsidian, most people will know them for Pillars of Eternity because they're the most recent games that Obsidian's worked on. But it's actually been an RPG developer for a
Obsidian
long
is
time.
New Vegas, and they did New Vegas. They did
First South Park.
South Park, The Stick of Truth. They did Knights of the Old Republic 2.
Yep.
Got screwed on that one when LucasArts decided to put it out something like 9 months early for Christmas.
Yeah.
And that's why Knights of the Old Republic 2 has no ending.
Yeah.
But they for a long time they had Chris Avellone writing for them, who I think is one of the best writers in video games.
He also lashed out.
He also not too complimentary these days.
He tweeted at Phil Spencer to fire the managers and look at the sales of Pillars of Eternity too. He's basically saying that Obsidian doctored the books for the sales
Yeah,
of
he accused them of
Eternity
cooking the
2.
books on oof.
He didn't let the door hit him in the ass on the way
No,
out.
that was and hell, he's working on Dying Light 2. He's the narrative director for that, and so he's got his own big stuff going on.
You don't have to worry.
He doesn't need that,
Yeah.
but
He's
it's
just
also
trying to do a public service, basically.
right. But it's also too bad because his writing quality was such a defining element of why Obsidian was so good.
Oh yeah, I mean any RPG developer.
Alpha Protocol. Obsidian has a Alpha Protocol. They did that. So
Yeah.
Obsidian has a reputation for top-notch storytelling and decision-driven storytelling, and just the most janky, just needs a patch now games you've ever played. South Park wasn't like that, but that was because probably Ubisoft was riding herd on that.
Oh yeah.
But Alpha Protocol,
That was a buggy
there is a delicious GUI center at the middle of that game. If you can hack your way through the guns don't work properly for the first 2 levels of the damn thing.
A bit of a stumbling block.
Yeah, a little bit. But that game, if you can hack your way through the jank on Alpha Protocol, there is some astounding freedom of decision that game. There are you can do if you play your decisions right. 2 playthroughs of that game can be so different it's hard to acknowledge you're playing the same game.
Yeah.
It's
the graphics and the levels.
Obsidian has done crazy stuff when it comes to player narrative choice, changing the outcomes
Player
of things.
agency.
They are very good about that. I would kill to see what they would do with a Fable.
That's a good point, actually.
Maybe
because
not.
My next question to you was, why did Microsoft buy these 2 developers?
I think they need big, epic RPG, deep, story-driven content, and these guys do that. I mean, In Exile...
Not flashy, though.
Not flashy, no. In Exile and Obsidian are basically where all the people who were from Black Isle Studios landed. The people who made Planescape Torment and the Baldur's Gates and
all
classic RPGs. I mean the Infinity Engine that gave us Icewind Dale and all that all comes out of the people that work at these 2 studios.
Torment is the In Exile game most people are probably familiar with now.
Which was basically a spiritual successor to Planescape Torment without the D&D license, because Planescape is a D&D thing. And they also made Wasteland. Wasteland 2, rather, the kickstarted sequel to the game that inspired Fallout, which was made Fallout was Fallout because they couldn't get EA to let them make a Wasteland 2.
Right.
Because EA owned Wasteland, so they formed this other studio and made Fallout, and so that's a lot of those same people too. Brian Fargo and those guys in exile now. So these guys are basically the kings of the Western RPG. Like these, this is like,
I don't know if I'd call them the kings now.
No, but they are the kings of
they were the first to really.
The Western CRPG is defined by what these guys did in the 90s and the early 2000s.
Yep.
And they've seen a resurgence as of late because of crowdfunding, allowing them to make these games that they could never. Oh yeah, Pillars was like. These games were never going to be made by a normal publisher. They'd taken these things, Wasteland 2.
Unless you're Microsoft.
Well, yeah, Wasteland 2 had been shopped around to publishers all over the industry, and no one would take it. They put it on Kickstarter, and boom. And that game was pretty good. As someone who's one of his favorite games of all time was Wasteland 1.
Isn't it weird, though, that Microsoft would buy a developer that had to go to crowdfunding to get its games made?
No.
No?
Because Wasteland 2 was always going to be good. Pillars was always going to be good. But they couldn't get them made because the AAA publishers are too stupid to see what people want.
Yeah.
Like, that's the whole lesson of crowdfunding is like, oh, nobody makes Wing Commander games anymore because nobody likes to play. Well, Chris Roberts just made $200 million on an idea.
Yeah.
And an alpha build of something that barely works.
Yeah.
Like there's a hunger for some of these things, and if you play your cards right, you can tap into that. Hell, even Double Fine did that with like you look at where the point-and-click adventure game was nowhere like 10 years ago, and now it's like a major genre again.
And I mean, I don't know.
I don't know
if point and click's a major genre.
It's a major genre in the sense that like they are somewhat high-profile games that sell enough to keep their makers in business. I mean, that wasn't a thing before.
I understand that, but I just don't understand why Microsoft purchased this. That's not what Microsoft should be looking for.
I think
a game that sells enough that you don't lose money.
Microsoft has continually pushed the idea that one of the things they're doing with all these developer purchases is not just buying them so they can make what they're good at making, but because they can interact with each other and bolster each other's strengths and weaknesses.
It's true.
And if you're bringing in,
they have mentioned that
you bring in Obsidian and in Exile to kind of be story editors for your whole sort of stable of developers. You are looking, I mean, in conjunction with Ninja Theory, which also does very good narrative, I think. You are looking at something of a powerhouse of narrative design.
Well, provided that they don't lose that talent, which they already did lose.
Well, they've still got, I mean, Chris Avallone is gone, but they still have the people, Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire is still a solid game in terms of storytelling.
Absolutely.
It's a very specific kind of game. I feel like you're probably not going to see Pillars of Eternity 3 look like Pillars of Eternity 1 and 2. I mean, but at the same time, you do have Pillars of Eternity on Xbox. You do have, it's Larian Studios, not one of these guys, but you have stuff like Divinity Original Sin on consoles, and they do okay.
Yeah.
This
just seems like a play for PC games to me. And I don't know. I mean, obviously with the Play Anywhere initiative, PC has become increasingly important for Microsoft, but it just seems very strange that you would invest that much money into what are kind of niche genres. And I think that's what he was getting at when he was like, check Pillars of Eternity's 2 sales numbers. Like, because what happens is a lot of these games get rolled into like PlayStation Plus or Xbox Live. You get them for free. And then the studio will say, well, we have X number of people playing these games. They don't say how many people paid for them or what the actual revenue was per game, because when you give it to Microsoft or Sony, you're actually giving it to them at a discount, but hopefully you end up doing better than you would have in the long run. To me, that just isn't, this whole environment of this isn't what Microsoft should be aiming for. I do hear you that these studios bring something to Microsoft's stable of first-party studios that maybe other studios don't have. I just don't know how much that, like, you're not going to have Obsidian like talking to 343 or whatever and telling them how to like write their story. Like, I just don't think that's going to happen.
I don't know. It depends how much herd Phil wants to ride over all this stuff. But I can think of way worse things to do than to have 343 send their Halo 6 script to Obsidian and say, look over this and give us some notes.
Yeah.
Because God knows they need it. You know, like,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying is like, you know, Microsoft, and maybe it won't work out. Maybe it's a bad idea, but like
that's a lot of money for a freelance writer.
Yeah, but that's not what I'm saying. See, I think particularly get too locked in on what studios and people have done before with the idea that they can't do anything different. And like Microsoft, I think, might be attempting to make some kind of like studio, like the way the golden age of Hollywood studio system worked. Like, kind of more like you've got all these production teams, but they're all under the same banner.
Collaborative.
And if we need these guys to work on this thing and do this, like that's how that's going to work, you know. And we'll work it out. Maybe okay, like, we don't have time to do that because we're putting the finishing touches on this thing, and Halo 6 is just going to have to deal with it. But like,
it just sounds really messy.
it could be really messy. But
Yeah.
Microsoft is one of those companies that does know. You know, Microsoft has run armies to make their Windows platforms. I mean, I'm not saying they've made great decisions, but like Microsoft is big enough to know how to make that kind of workflow function. And if they can get that off the ground and make that work, you know, it's kind of the opposite the way Sony operates. Sony has all these great individual developers that can make their own stuff. I mean, they interact. I mean, like,
They share tech
They share
mostly.
tech and they share ideas, I'm sure. But like they work. You know, Sony Santa Monica does its own thing. Insomniac does its own thing. But like, you know, Media Molecule does its own thing. It's not that they're competitors or anything, but they all, you know, but I think Microsoft's kind of taking.
Cerny's really the common thread between all.
Yeah, Cerny's sort of the brain power that links everything in that stable. But I think Microsoft might be trying to work in a more collaborative space, almost an indie game kind of like, you know, game jam sort of idea. And who knows if that'll bear any fruit? You know, even if
if the fruit's worth eating.
Yeah, well, the fruit. Well, there's two different things between a fruit being worth eating and a fruit being successful in market.
Yeah.
And now we're probably talking about apples or something.
Or oranges.
Literal apples and oranges.
We were literally talking apples
like,
and oranges.
But I don't know if it's going to turn out to be a wise investment, but I appreciate what Microsoft is trying to do here.
Yeah.
Like they are basically trying to build this dream team of sort of admittedly PC-centric developers. And you and I both know that every few years Microsoft goes through that phase of like PC gaming is really important, and that lasts for like a year and a half until they realize that like you can't herd those cats.
Yeah.
And you just sort of have to let PC gaming be what it is and focus on the Xbox.
Well, I also think a lot of PC gamers hate Microsoft. So.
Yeah, I mean, and no one wants to go into that Microsoft store, walled garden. Like everybody's happy over on Steam or whatever. But like, they're gonna try it again. If they do the Play Anywhere thing for this stuff, I think the PC gamers will remain happy as long as they're going too far afield with you know, letting Obsidian do what they do. I think a lot of it is based around the Game Pass idea. Like, you know, you're you know, it might be one thing to expect people to pay $60 for an old school CRPG from Obsidian. It might be very much another if it goes up day one on Game Pass as well as being sold for $60. And like, you might get a lot more people willing to try that. And who knows, like there might be a whole bunch of people that love that type of game that have never been exposed to it because it would never occur to them to try it. But Game Pass might get them to. I think that's what they're after.
Let's see other stuff. Crackdown 3 was blown out. That was the game they focused on.
Please just release that game so I can stop thinking about it.
Yeah, which I mean, I guess in hindsight, we probably should have figured out that was the game that they were going to focus on because...
I mean, it's coming soon. I thought maybe they might be wary of overexposure at this point to some degree. They did show the multiplayer though, which
the arena mode, which we had kind of got glimpses of before. It does look like it's all built around destruction, which was the original pitch for the game that we had wondered had kind of gone away.
They even brought up the fucking cloud thing.
They did, yeah. It looks like it's actually going to happen. It looks like the game's actually going to come out, believe it or not. But yeah, they showed off the Wrecking Zone multiplayer. They also pushed up the release a week. Instead of delaying it a week, they actually moved it up a week. So yeah, Crackdown 3 is finally coming. I don't know if it's going to be worth playing when it ultimately does
launch. This is the Mission
launch.
Impossible Fallout of games. I'm just like, just come out so I never have to see your trailer again.
Pretty much, yeah. How many times have we played that? Actually, that was a new trailer.
That was new,
But how many times have we shown that same piece of B-roll of Crackdown 3 on
Oh, there it is.
There it is. Thanks, Sam.
That man on that roof has been on that roof for a long time.
There may not be another video game trailer that I've watched as many times as this one in the last 3 years since Sifted launched. I think this is it.
Look, even he's tired of looking at that explosion. Explosion's back. I'm going to kill that guy.
Oh man, this is what GameFace does that other shows don't. We talk to the footage because it's all happening live. Other big topics from X08. PUBG on Game Pass.
Woo!
That's a big deal, but it's also today it was announced that PUBG is hitting PlayStation 4 on December 7th.
As I thought it would.
I mean, PUBG has had a PlayStation 4 designation on Sifted from the day it was announced because we knew that ultimately it was going to come to PlayStation 4, and finally today that designation was vindicated. It's in fact coming to PlayStation 4. It's launching December 7th. We haven't even seen it, and it's coming out in like 4 weeks.
Yeah, well, you know what it's going to look like, though.
Yeah, I'm just saying that.
The only question is, will the frame rate be in the 20s or the teens?
That is true.
PUBG, too little, too late edition.
But it is funny though that literally like the day that the PS4 version is announced is just a couple days later after it's announced that it's going to Game Pass.
Yeah, well, I think like now that it's no longer exclusive, Microsoft doesn't have to lean on it. And God, everyone I know who used to be a hardcore PUBG person, they're all playing Black Ops 4 now.
Yeah.
They got to. That didn't have to happen. Like PUBG, if they'd been, not inept, like could have staved that off in a better manner. But like everyone I know who played PUBG obsessively, like they got a taste of production values from Blackout, and they are never going back. Like it's. I've point blank asked them like, well, would you go back and play? They're like, no. Like I can't go back.
Why
I can't go back now.
It's like
they might try Battlefield. Like when that comes out, but they are not going back to PUBG.
You want to know how I can tell how many people are playing Blackout?
Mm-hmm.
It's because I kick ass in Black Ops 4. I'm not kidding. My KD in Black Ops 4 is 1.4. I've never had above like a 1.2 in any Call of Duty ever. And it's because all the best players are playing Blackout. They're not playing all the other modes anymore. I've never been this good at a Call of Duty game in my life. I'm not kidding. I finish 3 out of 4 games with scores of like 24-8, 27-6. I've never played Call of Duty like this. And it's not me that's changed. I'll tell you that
the good people aren't there anymore.
My reflexes have not suddenly improved a great deal. It's the fact that a lot of the really good players have been pulled out of the multiplayer pool, and they're all playing Blackout now. So thank you. You guys can go over there and do your Battle Royale thing, and I'll actually enjoy playing Call of Duty for the first time in like 4 years online. Sea of Thieves, PvP.
I don't know if that's a great idea.
Look, I would rather have like raids where you team up. Like I've been talking about this since I saw the game for the first time. It's like, let's get an armada of ships together and go fight this giant sea creature together and take it out. And maybe it has like 20 tentacles, and each ship takes 1 tentacle, and you're all working together, and you're on your headsets, and you're like, oh, they just smashed my ship in half, and there's guys in the water, and the other boats need to go and pick them up. Like, this could be awesome. Instead, you're just sailing in circles, shooting cannons at each other.
I haven't played it since close to launch, but like, the last thing I want to do with a game that janky is try to play PvP with it.
Yeah.
Like, it just feels like you're going to have tons of, like, I hit you, no I didn't. Like, I hit that guy, no I didn't. It's not the kind of content like that I think this game needs. But, I mean, any content's good, I guess, at this point. I don't know. I got 3 friends on my Xbox friends list that from my friends up in San Francisco. They play this game every night, literally every night for hours. Like they all you see them all in the same game. A couple times I've thought about like, hey, can I get in on this and just see what it's all about? And then I'm just like,
I see what it's all about.
I think they're just using it as a chat room to hang out while they do pirate things.
Yep, it's called Sea of Thieves Arena. It's coming in early 2019.
Can't wait. I wonder how many meetings they had to have for that name.
Yeah. Probably not too many. Arena is kind of the default moniker used anytime you add some kind of multiplayer to it. Well, could you see this bringing you back? I mean, look, here's one thing I want to say, is that a lot of times, and it's not just me, but I do this a lot. Something will be shown for the first time, and I'll say, I don't really care about that because I want this. And I think that's wrong. I don't think I should do that. I think I should maybe give more credit to what they are putting in there. And for people who are playing Sea of Thieves a lot, this arena is going to be a big deal. Is it going to bring me back to the game? No. Is it going to bring you back to the game? No. But for the people that are playing it, this is like a game changer. Like a whole mode built around ship-to-ship combat. So while it's not something that's going to get us to re-engage with the game, it could extend the life of the game rather significantly because this is a pillar.
Yeah,
this isn't just really a mode. This is a pillar.
Something to do, but at the same time, I know a whole lot of people that are excited about Anthem because they feel they're not wasting resources on PvP the way Destiny does.
Right.
So, it's a double-edged sword.
It is.
And you know what isn't a double-edged sword? A cutlass.
That's true.
Doesn't work that way.
That is a one-edged sword. And then the last bit of news from X18, mouse and keyboard support for Xbox, which, cycling back, ties into the Obsidian and the Anexile purchases.
I think we are entering another cycle of that phase another round of that phase where the frickin' words. Another round of that cycle where Microsoft suddenly rediscovers PC gaming again.
Yeah.
And just don't forget when they sometimes that's pretty cool, and sometimes the extra focus gets you some cool, but other times it gets you Vanguard.
It does.
So,
yeah, exactly.
It can go either way.
So overall, I was pretty disappointed in this event.
Yeah, I mean, I thought for sure they're gonna blow out the gears.
I mean,
they got nothing.
Or just show us a trailer or a concept piece from this new studios that they have, like anything.
Yeah, a little bit of like, what are you working on?
Yeah, it's like, why did you have this event? Did you have to have this event to show off what we just talked about?
No, I feel like you could have done a Nintendo Direct for this.
Yeah,
frankly.
or just put it in there. They did like the Inside Xbox thing.
Yeah.
It's like, just put that up. We're good. Like the money that they spent, and they all the way down in Mexico, and like, I don't know. I hope a lot of people from America didn't go all the way down to this thing hoping that it was going to be some big blowout. I mean, I didn't think it was going to be like E3 2 or anything, but
didn't even have any like real like business announcements or anything. It wasn't
other than
like a new twist on Game Pass or a new like Xbox Live's going to do this now, or there was nothing. I guess they sure pushed a lot of annoying updates of that Avatar creator thing.
Yeah, have you made your new avatar yet?
Yeah, I did. He's riding a magical unicorn.
My avatar now doesn't look anything like me. The old system, I literally was able to make a character that looked just like me.
Yeah, mine
doesn't
look tremendously like me, but it's fine. My old one was in an animated Batman outfit, which I thought was cooler than
I loved about
me on a horse.
I mean, I'm sure the new ones are going to have this too, but what I loved about the old ones was when you would get like a prop. So certain games, if you get an achievement, it would give you like a little prop, and I think I had like a Portal Cube one, where like the cube would like come out and fold out, and like you could like your avatar was like doing things with stuff.
Yeah, I had a Batman one, and it had like some kind of Marvel. I don't remember what the character was, but some Marvel thing. Because I'm gonna make Batman do a Marvel thing.
And I had another one that had like a remote controlled like something that would like buzz around my feet.
It was like a remote control. They had a remote control warthog.
That's what it was, I think. Yeah.
It was. There's some fun stuff in there, but like I've seen some of my friends when they pop up on the whoever is on or whatever stuff, like some of them have used it, and the main difference seems to be that all my friends' avatars that have used the new avatar system, they look pretty much the same. They just more accurately reflect their current weight, which at least means I've got a lot of honest friends.
That's true. That's absolutely true. So yeah, XO18 kind of a wash.
Yeah,
think we'll do it next year.
Maybe. I bet they'll have more to show next year with all these new developers, maybe, but like I don't know.
It just kind of came and went. And
I don't know how to gauge the success of this or not. Maybe
engagement, social engagement. I mean,
guess.
traffic on Sifted for the stuff was okay.
I mean, I guess kind of depends how they feel about the how it went at the venue, I guess.
Yeah, you're probably right. That's probably a big part of it. And if they do it next year, maybe they just bring it to the U.S. instead of going international. Yeah. It always has kind of been international, though.
Yeah,
even way
it's
back
been all
in the
over
day.
the place. Yeah.
So
do it in Guilford.
Yeah. I don't know. With the momentum that Microsoft and Xbox was having right now, I think my expectations were just way higher.
I didn't have much higher expectations, but my expectations were just very different. They didn't focus on what I thought they would.
Yeah.
I just figure if you're holding it in the capital of Gears fandom, you should probably talk about Gears.
We should probably be talking about Gears anyway by now.
Yeah.
We should know a lot more than we do. All right, let's move on to the last topic of this week's show. We're going to talk about Hitman 2, arguably the biggest game released this week.
Yeah.
I would say.
I would agree with that.
Here's what I would say about Hitman in general. It's one of those franchises that I am never excited to play. Like, when they put out the first trailer for Hitman 2, I watched it, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. The last Hitman, like, I ended up actually, like, paying someone else to write the eval for that. But what happens is I'm not excited for it, and then I play it, and I get sucked into it.
Yeah, I don't like most of the Hitman games. I played the early ones a little bit, and then I played Blood Money, and I didn't like it. And I played Contracts, and I didn't like it. I played Absolution, I really didn't like it. But then I skipped the last one, the adjectiveless
reboot,
one.
basically, yeah.
Yeah, except it's not a reboot.
It's not.
It's
Yeah.
still
It's
in
the same
continuity.
game.
It's just he's like 45 now.
Right.
Like the man has genetics like you wouldn't believe. He looked the same for 30 years. But like,
Well, once you shave your head, you never
yeah,
age,
I
right?
guess. But so I skipped the last one because I thought the episodic thing was annoying, and B, I'm just not a Hitman fan. But I did play it a while back, the prologue part, like the tutorial mission part
Of the first.
one.
Okay.
On like when they did like a free weekend or something with Steam or something like that, and I played. I'm like, I thought that was pretty good. So I, in a way that I didn't feel I liked the other ones, and so I went ahead and I dove in on Hitman 2 on Xbox. The full thing, everything. I also got the.
Now you get the original game with it, right?
It's like $20 more.
Okay.
Or if you already own the first game in its entirety, you get it automatically. So it's they call it remastered, but basically it's all the levels and everything of the previous game brought into this game, and like with some of the new abilities and gameplay systems added on,
Okay.
which are improvements, I would say, for the most part. Not that I can super compare because I didn't play much of the first one, so I'm like playing the first one in the second one now.
one, yeah.
I played the prologue and the tutorial and the first mission of the second one, and then I went back and started playing the first one's stuff again.
Are you going to continue with the first one before play more in the second?
Keep going, because the thing is, you can get through them pretty fast. Because like you know, all you need to do is complete each assassination once, and you can move on to the next thing. It could take you a whole day to do all the assassinations and challenges in one level, but it'd probably take you less than a day to get through the whole game. The meat of the game is repeating each level like 7, 8, 20 times.
Finding different ways.
And finding different ways to do various things, finding little things. You know, sometimes there's secret challenges where like it'll just show a picture of a thing in the level and like give you like a hint through the title of the challenge, and it's just like, you know, redacted. Like you have to just figure out, like in the to use one from the first game where people have probably already played it. There's a picture of a fountain from the first real level, not the tutorial, but the first real level in Paris. There's a picture of a fountain, and it says, "Be careful what you wish for," and there's no description. And the challenge turns out to be to throw, because you throw coins to distract people in the game, and the challenge is to throw a coin in the fountain.
Into the fountain, yeah.
You know, and so stuff like that. So you have to find things in the level, and then you can find little things in the level that can, like, you know, unlock new story. So the thing that I like about this game, and this was true of the first game and the new game, the Hitman 2, is I always felt a little lost in the games. I always felt like the games were sort of like happening around me, and I didn't know what to do, and like
not keeping up,
kind of like
missing your opportunities.
Yeah.
And
so the two things that this game does that I feel make it better, and I wonder if there are hardcore Hitman fans that feel like it ruins the game, but like to me it makes it more playable. So it does two things. First, it has like, it's called like stories. It's called mission stories, where like they'll have a little thing that's like you can overhear people saying something. It'll tell you like, oh, mission story unfolding, and you like get information from people, and then you can kind of track that story, and it'll kind of mark things to tell you like, oh, you should do this next and this next and this next. And like there's tons of different ones, like things, little narrative threads that weave their way through each level, and you can like, you overhear guys talking about like, I'm going to keep using the first game stuff just to not spoil any of the Hitman 2 stuff.
Good idea.
So like you'll hear guys at the party, waiters, talking about how to make this weird drink. You have two targets. One of the targets like has this drink he likes, and you'll find out, oh, you say, well, we got to make it, I guess, and you'll follow the guy in and, you know, knock him out, take his clothes like you do. It's all about disguising and using disguises to kind of like get places you're not supposed to be, which I do enjoy that.
and you can go through the kitchen area and find the recipe for the drink. You go pretend to be a bartender, make the drink, and poison it. And so the guy will come along and drink his drink, and then there's lethal poison and emetic poison. Emetic poison just makes them throw up. So if you poison someone with lethal poison, they just drop dead, and everything goes crazy, and you basically have to hope nobody thinks you're the one who did it.
Right.
And emetic poison is useful because it'll make them sick, and they'll run to a bathroom to throw up, and you can follow them into the bathroom and drown them in their own vomit, which is.
I actually remember that from that.
The only problem with that is that sometimes you have to take their clothing, and I feel like I would not drown them in their own vomit if I intended to wear their clothes afterwards. But that's the story for that. Is like you overhearing those two guys gives you the idea to learn how to make this drink. Because they say they left the recipe over here. You find the recipe, and now you can go up and you're right in front of the guy. You kill the guy right in front of you, and no one has any idea. He has no idea who you are. It's great. I think that's pretty cool.
It is cool, yeah.
And you can do bigger. There's things where like you can drop stuff on people, or you can go completely loud and just shoot people with machine guns. You can do whatever. You can go crazy if you want. You're not going to get a high score, but you can still pull it off if you're good enough.
I think the biggest turnoff for me for the Hitman franchise is, in all honesty, Agent 47.
Oh yeah.
He just has no personality.
He's a bit of a blank slate. I think he is kind of funny.
He cracks some one-liners.
He's surprisingly like the deadpan thing kind of like works into his advantage in places. I can't figure out what they've had the same guy doing his voice for like the whole series.
I think so. He sounds the same.
I can never quite figure out what his accent's supposed to be. It's sort of like this weird blend of like flat American and like Eastern European, because I think he is supposed to be like born in Romania or something like that.
Yeah, I think you described it very well. He's a blank slate.
Yeah, well, I mean that's kind of part of the plot.
That
he's like
you're right.
He's basically been abused, but he's kind of like a Black Widow sort of thing. He's like been programmed by this, and like this story. The story in these games is sort of like you're working for, I guess, another hit agency service thing that doesn't really know where you came from, because like you used to, the other game, I think Absolution was kind of the story of him getting out of the company that he was brainwashed and raised by, and there's some brutal stuff in that, like
there is.
These
games are brutal.
He got some backstory stuff where like he's got they raised all these kids with to be these kind of, it's sort of like Halo, like they raise these kids to be assassins, and like they take specific note of the fact that at one point he found a rabbit when he was like 5 and actually cared for the rabbit, and then the rabbit died and he was upset, and there's like implications that they might have killed the rabbit just to see what he'd do,
how he'd react. Yeah.
And like later he found a mouse and took care of the mouse, but one of the other kids like murdered it or something, and like he on a field trip or something he kills the kid, and the agency figures it out, but like they basically bring him in, they're like, very good, but next time clean it up better. Like they're basically like yes,
you did what you were supposed to.
That is good, and it's just like woo. Okay.
Yeah. So I think another thing that keeps me from playing these games is that I played a lot of the old ones, and they weren't as flexible as the new games are. A lot of them were pretty linear as far as like, okay, do this, now do this, and that makes this guy go over here, and then you do this, and it makes this guy look the other direction.
They're like puzzle games,
almost.
Like
it was like trial and error a lot.
These are still like that, except like there's so many different ways to do everything that if you screw something up, there's probably 4 other ways you can figure it out from here that don't require to do what you screwed up.
That's
doing.
Good.
So it feels less like a constant series of dead ends and more like a free-form sort of like, I'd like to do it this way, but if I don't pull it off, I can at least find another way to do it.
Still.
And the other thing, of course, is not on the top difficulty, the master difficulty, they disable saves.
Oh, jeez.
On normal difficulty, though, you have auto saves constantly, and you can hard save as much as you want. And the other thing, it is the challenges. So there'll be challenges like there's like, often there's like over a dozen ways to kill your targets in these missions, and the nice thing is that the challenges count whether you finish the level or not.
Oh, that's good.
So say you get to a target you're trying to kill, and you get them alone, and now you have, because of the things you've picked up along the way, you have like maybe 4 different ways to kill them. If you hard save, Kill them one way, reload the save. Kill them a second way, reload the save. Kill them a third way,
saves
reload the
it
save.
all.
And when you get to the end of the level, it all counts.
That's great.
It instantly
I love
tabulates.
that. I love that.
You could actually quit out of the level and never finish it, and you still get them counted.
Cool. I think that's a great idea.
So it's not. They don't want you to have to play the game over. And once you finish it, once you figure it out, they kind of let you play a little looser.
What about the story? How is it told?
It's mainly told through cutscenes, like you can see here. So this is like the very first thing you play. And by the way, this is the first thing you play. Like it starts up and you are playing this.
Yeah, this is the opening of the game.
Yeah, this is the whole opening. This, by the way, really assumes you've played the previous game. Like there is no tutorial really to tell you what, because like they kind of show you like, okay, do this, that this is your next thing, hack this computer, and then once your targets show up, no help. Like they're not helping you, and like I think they expect you to basically try what you're going to try. And if you've played through the whole first game, I bet you know exactly what to do. I was like, I don't need to go over here and try this, so I kind of muddled my way through it and was not very clean. And once I went back and played the tutorial, because the tutorial they offer it to you after this, and it's the same tutorial from the previous game with like a recreation of like a ship, like a cruise ship party or something. And after I'd done that, I could go back to this and play it like a pro. Like I was like, oh, okay, now I know what you want me to do and how all this stuff works. So it teaches you pretty smoothly. But if you've played the last game, I think you will do much better on this level than I did the first time. But I kind of thought it was cool that they just threw you in and were just like, okay, go.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Well, it sounds like the game is flexible enough that people can kind of fumble around and find their way anyway.
Yeah, I didn't feel frustrated and annoyed the way I had on so many of the previous games.
Oh, good.
I felt like, oh, okay, I get this, and if I was unsure of something, I could just hard save and try it, and if it didn't work, reload.
Yeah.
And sometimes I get to the point where some of these levels where I'm just like, really, that didn't work. But then like it's. I just felt like I was being punished a lot more in the old games, and this one feels like it's ready to work with you a little better.
Sounds like it allows you to be a little more creative, too.
The one major difference I've noticed in terms of presentation is the story, the campaign from the previous game, has CG cutscenes between the levels, and in the Hitman 2 stuff, the cutscenes between the levels are like motion comics, like the divorce from Square Enix.
That Square Enix money's gone.
Yeah, the budget for the CG cutscene seems to be gone. So they're not bad. They're like looks like the character models like posed in places in environments and stuff, and they do like have like motion in the background, but there's no lip sync. There's no moving around like normal people. It's clearly like a motion comic, like Frozen.
Cheap way to do
sort of thing.
cinematics. Yeah.
And it's it's
Full price game though, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a couple new mechanics as I understand it. So like the game tabulates like point scores.
That grass looks really good.
Grass is nice. Yeah. The game tabulates point scores for things you're doing as you're doing them, which apparently was not a thing in the previous game. So it's like it's a little like you'll get like you get points for discovering a new area in a level, or you get points for like changing your disguise and stuff, and so there's more transparency basically as you play of what you're getting points for. And the other thing is you can blend with crowds, like old Assassin's Creed style.
Wow.
So if you get in and you see it, actually it's the same thing as in like hiding in the reeds here. You'll see like if you see when he's near the edge of something, you'll see like a white circle around him. So that is like, as long as nobody comes within that radius, they won't see you.
Okay.
So you can hide in crowds now and like just sort of blend with them. And like so as long as your target or because you'll see in some of the footage, the guys with the white dots over their heads, that means they will recognize that you are not supposed to be where you are.
Okay.
If they see you. And so if you're wearing like, say, a bodyguard, if you like strangle a bodyguard and steal his clothes and walk around as a bodyguard, a lot of the bodyguards won't realize who you are. But there'll be like guys who are supposed to be like supervisors who know they're men and they know you aren't one of them. So they'll have the dot so you have to avoid the guys who like know who's there. And sometimes you get some really clever ways. Like I like how well it works, and like the logic of what would work makes a lot of sense. Sometimes we're like, okay, so the bodyguards here know who I am, but I bet if I disguise myself as like a waiter, they won't care who I am. And sure enough, none of
They
them
just
know
ignore
who
you.
the waiters are.
Right.
As long as you're allowed to be in that area, the bodyguards won't notice you because
So there's actually like some logic going on
because
here.
service staff are invisible to people who think they're above those people.
I like that.
So there's some element. There's a little social commentary in there.
I guess
dug
so.
that. And here's once you complete your assassination, you get to the exit. There's multiple exits. Not in this one. There's only one exit on this one, but usually there's multiple exits. Sometimes you can find like really creative new exits if you find the right items or discover the right thing over the course of the level.
Well, it sounds like if you're someone like me who has not been a huge fan of Hitman in the past, this one might change your mind a bit.
I mean, I am right there with you, and I kind of really dig this one.
Wow,
I'm enjoying it.
It's a pretty game.
It is pretty, and it's just the free-formness, and like once you get into really like completing like the serious challenges, like it can get nitty-gritty in places, but just getting through it and finding different ways to do things, like it all works really well. Like I'm very impressed as someone who has never really genuinely liked a Hitman game. I really do like this one.
So it's also a 100% stealth game.
Yeah, like
which, like, we don't get those anymore. Stealth is something that's wrapped into something else now. It's not like its own thing anymore. So if you've been pining for games like this, where it's just all about stealth, maybe you're an old Thief fan, or you're an OG Splinter Cell fan, this might be right up your alley.
Yep.
And it's available for all 3 platforms, right?
Is it on Switch?
No, 3.
Oh, 3.
PS4, Xbox One, and
Xbox,
PC.
PC, yeah.
And full price.
Yes.
All right.
And then if you already have Hitman 1, I think you do like a link thing or something with your IO Interactive account, and it gives you a code to get I think it's called the Legacy Pack, and that brings all the levels from the previous game into the new game.
Okay, gotcha.
So it's a big download. Like it's
it sounds like
it's like another 60 gigs or something because it's the whole first game basically.
Right.
But you can get them all, and they all work in the new system. They all show up in one menu, and like it says Prologue, Hitman, Hitman 2, and I think there's a Patient Zero, which is the expansion for the last game.
Yep.
And it's all right in there. It's basically all the content from the first game, including the weird little bonus stuff that was in the Game of the Year edition. So it's a very complete package if you choose to do that.
All right, so there you go. That's Hitman 2 coming straight at you. Maybe I'll give that a go here over the next few days, and maybe we'll talk about it again next week.
They've come a long way from the. I remember playing the original game, and like you had to like press 3 buttons to pick something up.
It was very awkward.
I'm pretty sure the guy who designed that interface now works for Rockstar.
All right, it's time for our trailer of the week, and for this week there was just one choice.
Yeah.
Undoubtedly one trailer that made it through the site this week that was the most commented, got the most one-ups. Not even close. It is the debut trailer for the Detective Pikachu movie.
Welcome to Rhyme City, a celebration of the harmony between humans and Pokemon.
Tim, your dad was a legend in this precinct. If you were anything like your dad...
I'm not.
I remember. You wanted to be a Pokemon trainer when you were young.
Yeah, that didn't really work out. Someone there? Whoever you are, I know how to use this.
Oh, jeez. Here we go.
I know you can't understand me, but put down the stapler or I will electrocute you.
Did you just talk?
Whoa. Did you just understand me?
Oh my God, you can understand me. Stop. I've been so lonely.
They try to talk to me all the time. All they hear is Pika Pika.
You can hear him, right?
Pika Pika! Yeah, Pika Pika Pika, he's adorable.
You're adorable. They can't understand me, kid.
Can no one else hear him? I don't need a Pokemon, period.
Then what about a world-class detective? Because if you want to find your pops, I'm your best bet.
We're gonna do this. You and me.
There's magic that brought us together, and that magic is called hope.
Listen up.
We got ways to make you talk. Or mime.
Yeah.
So tell us what we want to know. Pipe. Yes. Okay. I can. Shoving. Pushing. My problem is that I push people away and then hate them for leaving.
He's saying you can shove it.
What? I can shove it? Okay, that's it. No, we're switching roles. I'm bad cop. You're good cop.
No, we're not cops.
In my head, I saw that differently.
That freaks me out, dude.
That looks great.
It really does.
Like, I would never have thought that project would turn out to be that, but damn, like,
It
that
freaks
is
me out seeing the Pokemon like that.
Sort of. I mean, that kind of what I always thought they'd look. I mean, I think
I could
most
never
people-
imagine what they look like.
most people, I think, thought Pikachu's fur would be a little shorter.
Yeah.
But I mean, he is a mouse. Like, that's pretty much what a mouse
Well, it's
looks
the way
like.
they draw him. Like, they don't give, like,
Yeah,
the
they don't-
jagged, like, shag lines like they do for a lot of cartoon characters.
Yeah, I don't know if like they really decide, but I always kind of pictured most of the mammalian ones as looking kind of like a stuffed animal.
Yeah.
in
I
terms
just
of
imagine
that.
them being smooth-skinned, I guess, but...
That would look weirder, I think.
Would it?
I think a naked mole rat version of Pikachu would be stranger looking in live
It's possible.
action. Yes.
I thought all the Pokemon looked bizarre in that trailer.
I think they're supposed to be.
Compelling, but I know, but I think that's what it is. It's like seeing them personified
Yeah.
in reality. It's freaky.
Well, that is just not and you know, that is not an art style you ever thought you'd see those characters in.
Absolutely not.
But I think they've done a great job because all the city shots and things, like, you know what all those Pokemon are. Like, they did a
absolutely.
great, and like a couple of them are like some deep cuts. Like, they're not just going with red blue stuff. Like, there's a couple of later editions in there. They're not
that
going,
film is going to do huge.
that is going to be that. I'll predict right now that is going to be one of the biggest box office hits of next year. And it is going to be the best video game movie ever made.
Ooh, that's a bold claim. Well,
No,
not
it's
really.
not, really. But I'm
Like,
just
wait
going
a
to
minute.
say,
That target's
if you
low.
want to talk about setting the goal, like the Iron Man style gold standard for how video game movies are made, that is what mark my words, Detective Pikachu is going to be video game movies Iron Man.
Wow.
Because they are not adapting the game, they are adapting the concept. Like you said when we
right.
were watching it, based on the worldwide phenomenon. Yes.
Yeah.
Don't remake the video game because video game stories suck.
Yeah.
Take the idea and make a movie out of it.
Yeah.
That's what they've done. It's also what they did with Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat, while it was based on schlocky kung fu movies, was a schlocky kung fu movie and it worked. That's
Yeah.
why it worked.
Yep.
You can't adapt the Hitman games into a movie twice.
Those movies
they made
were
two
bad.
Hitman movies. Because, like you just said, who wants to watch a movie about that guy?
Nobody.
Nobody. So yes, I have very, very high expectations in terms of. I have very high success expectations for Detective Pikachu the movie, which is not a sentence I ever thought I would say.
I'm going to record that. Well, actually,
but
we are recording.
I think Ryan Reynolds might have a family-friendly Deadpool-style hit on his hands here.
Interesting.
I think Ryan Reynolds is going to be a very happy man after the opening weekend of that film.
Okay, let's get to some questions.
Although Danny DeVito was a pretty good pick by the fandom for that. But
Yeah, I thought it was going to be Danny DeVito. I had not realized it was just like fans hoping.
Yeah, I was skeptical of Ryan Reynolds, but once I heard him talk in that trailer, I'm like, okay, yeah, it'll work.
All right, here's one from W. Matthew. You have to answer one every week. There is speculation that Square is going to have Naoki Yoshida, the person who saved Final Fantasy XIV, to make the next Final Fantasy game. What do you think? For reference, his history both as a player and a dev is in online games. He grew up playing Ultima Online / EverQuest.
As long as somebody does it. Sure. I mean, like, I'm not an MMO fan, but I do know that everyone I know who played FF14 really likes it. At least the post-vanilla game. Like, the expansion stuff is apparently very good.
Yeah.
Which I've just never... There's only so many hours in the day.
Only so many hours in your life.
So yeah, it's not bad. And like, you know, as much as like I'm knee-jerk inclined to be like, oh, I don't want to play an MMO-inspired Final Fantasy.
That's where I'm standing.
My
on
favorite Final Fantasy since Final Fantasy VI is Final Fantasy XII, which was very strongly MMO-inspired.
Yeah.
So, you know, he might come up with a winner here, and at the very least, it's got to be better than 15. Sorry. God, I hate that
My
game.
perspective is, as long as it takes 5 years or less, I'm cool.
Yeah, that is also a good point. Yeah.
And I know that's not a very high bar to...
get on with it. Oh, my God. Like, there's no reason these games should take this long.
Let's see. SJ D. Swanland, what are your thoughts on Season 2 of Castlevania? I still haven't watched it. I actually totally forgot it was even there.
I also have not watched it.
Sorry, man. Like, I've just been so freaking busy. I forgot it was even on Netflix. Maybe I'll watch some of it tonight while I'm waiting for the show to render. The Legacy. Have THQ Nordic sent you Darksiders yet? And how fast will they lower the price?
Yeah, Darksiders 3 is probably one of those you might want to wait a couple weeks games.
I have not got Darksiders 3 yet, but it doesn't come out still for a little bit. But
it was like the last week of this month or something.
Yeah. I'm not looking forward to it especially. There's been some I've had a couple conversations with some colleagues over the last few weeks, and some people have played it. And yeah, I think you would definitely want to wait on that one. I would not pre-order it.
I'm still gonna because I'm a Darksiders fan.
I am too, but man.
Well, it's either that or we don't talk about it on the show in a timely manner, so I'm stuck.
Yep.
But if I were just doing it for myself, I would probably wait until January when I can get it for $30.
Yep. Joachim
I hope everything's okay over at THQ Nordic after all this crap, because I don't know. I appreciate a lot of things they're doing, but I don't know how they're making any damn money off
I don't
of it.
either. You must have deep pockets somehow. Here's one from Joachim Dragoon. Why does Square allow Nomura to do what he wants without him being pushed out? It took him 10 years for Kingdom Hearts 3. Do you think he has too long, or do you think he takes too long, especially compared to Western developers? Yeah.
Yeah, I think we talked about that a bit at the tail end of the Tabata part.
That topic, but
yes, I do not understand why Nomura has carte blanche to do all this crazy stuff and take forever. And
then Tabata gets tossed.
I mean, how in the world do you screw up on the level of Versus 13 and continue to get the highest profile projects at the company? I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
I mean, Cloud's a cool character design and all, but that was 21 years ago. Like, you can only be the golden boy for so long in the wake of I just blanked on the guy who created Final Fantasy. Sakaguchi.
I blanked too.
Because once Sakaguchi got dismissed, Nomura kind of stepped into the role, but it's like that was a long time ago, and maybe it's time to let the new blood have a shot.
Yep.
Maybe this guy doing 16 could step in if 16 turns out to be a phenomenon. Guess we'll see.
Here's a good question. Congrim 1. Reportedly, Elder Scrolls 6 and Starfield will not be getting a new graphics engine. Is Bethesda showing shades of Telltale using a dated and aging engine that repeatedly produces bug-ridden games?
I flat out don't believe that. There's no way. That's
no way. Really discouraging to hear. Where was that reported?
I've heard that a couple places as well on Twitter. I don't know what the source of it is, but you'd have to be out of your mind to try to move that engine further into another generation. There's no way.
I was playing Fallout 76 on Xbox One. I don't know how anybody could play that and be like, we're good.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yes, if they do that, that is a massive mistake, and people are going to be so angry. Dude, if Elder Scrolls 6 has that graphics engine, people are going to be so mad.
How could it? If you're looking at the footage from that clip they announced it with,
even that.
How could that be the same?
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're talking
all fake.
unless you're talking about bolting unbelievable numbers of new. You're talking about altering the Gamebryo engine to the point that
it's not even the
that
engine
CDPR altered the Aurora engine to make Witcher 1. At that point, why don't you just do something new?
I mean, look, sometimes you can work with the same engine and get good results. Treyarch has done a good job with its engine over the years and over the platforms. I mean, Black Ops 4 looks freaking great, so it can be done.
But Blackout kind of pushing it to a degree it can't quite do. So,
yeah, you're right.
There's a point at which you have to admit that the old tech wasn't built for what the new hotness is.
Yeah. And look, Bethesda has shown no signs of that engine really evolving.
No. And also, if they aren't doing a new engine, what in the world is taking so long?
I don't know.
Because they didn't make Fallout 76. They were clearly in an advisory capacity. But what was the last game they made was Fallout 4.
And by the time Starfield comes out, you're talking about like 5 years between games. What were they doing all that time?
I don't know. I really don't know.
I mean, I on one hand, like, will it shock me if that's the case? Maybe not, but I don't know if that sounds maybe like it's just like, I don't know, anti-Bethesda rhetoric or something. Like how would you not know it's time for a new engine yesterday?
I mean, people were asking him that question 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So here's another good one. OCD Master 1. Do you think Microsoft would ever buy a Japanese developer? If it were to happen, which one would you like them to buy? First question. Yes.
Yeah, I think they might.
I think Microsoft would be surprisingly open to that.
Yeah, I mean, part of me would like to see them buy Platinum just to see all the fanboys' heads explode.
Well, that was my choice as well. For which one would you like to see them buy?
Like, if you're just talking about top quality, like,
but that's never going to happen because isn't their relationship already sour over the last project they worked on together?
In theory, but like, I don't know. We still don't know what happened.
Yeah, we really don't.
I mean, even if you are upset about the Scalebound thing, there's no denying that they make some of the best action games. So, like, it's somebody to have in your corner.
It would be one of the best Japanese developers to acquire.
Yeah,
I would argue.
The other one I would say,
their games work both in the East and in the West.
If you're talking about, like, kind of, I don't know what kind of situation they're in financially, but if you're talking about saving it'd be a situation where it's like saving them or letting them go out of business, I wouldn't mind seeing them acquire Grasshopper.
Yeah, because what is going to happen to Grasshopper?
I don't know. They're still plugging along.
And you could probably buy them for nothing.
Probably. You could buy them for all the unsold digital copies of Dark Dreams Don't Die. But I would like to see that company continue because I know they're not a financial powerhouse or anything, but like they've made some of my favorite quirky little games in the last like 10 years. So I would like to see them. Were they to get into dire financial straits, I'd like to see Microsoft swoop in and save them.
All right, one last question.
Also, maybe really stick it to Sony and form a new Japanese development studio around Ueda. You know, now that he's left Team Ico and all that.
It's not a bad idea. J. Reed Vic 7. It feels like, as far as open world design goes, the industry is largely split down the middle. The Ubisoft approach with the biggest maps and more pound-for-pound content than any other games on the market, but formulaic and repetitive. And the Rockstar/CD Projekt Red approach with more tailored, high-quality content. Do you guys have a preference?
I guess my preference
How do you like that he's comparing Red Dead to CD Projekt Red stuff? Are you okay with that? Because you don't like Red Dead that much, but obviously you're a huge fan of CD Projekt Red.
I get what he's after in the sense that, like, you know, Witcher 3 and Red Dead are probably more alike to each other than they are to Ubisoft's model, in the sense that Witcher 3, you know, focuses on the narrative more. Like, you know, even the side stories in Red Dead Redemption 2, similar to Witcher 3, like, have a strong narrative. You know, even the bounties aren't even. Yeah, the bounties have stories now in Red Dead Redemption 2, which I like. I like that approach. That it seems like maybe they took some lessons there from The Witcher 3. I don't think the storytelling is as interesting as it is in The Witcher 3, but I see what the comparison is there. I mean, obviously, I prefer. My ideal would probably be something along the lines of what Ubisoft is doing in the new Assassin's Creed games. But
it's a good compromise.
But with the attention to writing quality that Witcher 3 has. Like, if you could tell a Witcher 3 quality story and side quests in an Assassin's Creed Odyssey game design, that would be amazing.
Yeah. A lot of people are throwing out From Software as a purchase target. That's a pretty good purchase target.
That would be mean.
Yeah. That would be cutthroat, though.
I mean, that's what you got to do to win.
That's
the
kind of thing Microsoft needs to do, absolutely.
You're right.
That honestly is the better pick than Platinum, I think, for Microsoft.
At the same time, you are talking about, you know, Dark Souls games sell 2 to 3 million copies.
Yeah.
Like, they're not powerhouses.
You don't make every acquisition to sell 10 million copies of each game.
Yeah, but
you do it to get that group of people on your platform, and then they buy all those games plus all the others.
I agree. That's why I think the Obsidian and Exile thing is a good choice.
Yeah.
But like you know, you're talking about like buying somebody that's going to make you a crazy home run. That's not necessarily From Software.
I don't know if there are studios available for purchase that can do that.
Yeah, you're right.
They're all gobbled up, or
they used to have some, but they let them die.
Yep.
Thanks, Don Matrick.
Yep. All right, so that's it for GameFace 148 right here on Sifted. Thanks to all you guys who stayed on the stream. Apparently our stream went down again at a certain point. It just seems to be a recurring
I'm actually pretty sure that's my internet. Like the power in the entire block went out like about a month ago for a while, and like the internet has not been as stable as it normally should be since then. I don't think there's anything wrong with the equipment, but I gotta talk to Spectrum and figure out what the hell is going on.
Appreciate you guys coming back and checking the stream after it went down. The show is not over until I say it's up and out. So if it ever happens in the coming weeks, it's not us. Just refresh and everything should be okay. So thanks for sticking with us.
It's like a little. Basically, what happens is it's like a quick, literally seconds of disconnection that happens with the internet connection, and it comes back immediately. But that's long enough to cause a break in the Twitch stream. So you just got to refresh it.
It's just a split second.
It happens when I'm like on my on Xbox Live, on PlayStation Network. Playing Hitman, by the way, is very difficult when it does that, because Hitman, you always have to be logged in.
Oh.
Because they keep you have to be online to complete the challenge and do all this stuff. It's like, which some people don't like. Like I get why some people don't like that, because there have been some nights when it's gone down like 4 or 5 times, and I'm just like, well, I got to sit here and wait. Or it switches it to like an offline save, which is a different thing. It doesn't record your progress the same way. So yeah, I have definitely noticed it, and I'm trying to fix it, but it has not gotten there, because we used to have no problems whatsoever.
Yeah,
for a long time.
rock solid. Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely on my end.
Yep. So I just want to say thank you. In fact, Sam, will you roll the give me credit crawl? So I just want to take a minute. If Sam can get it to go. There it is. So I just want to take a minute to really thank our patrons who are giving us $30 a month or more. We run this during every GameFace, and I don't want you guys to think that it's just something that runs along the bottom of the screen and we don't pay attention to it. Every month, I have to update this, and I have to go and remove people from the list who have dropped off our $30 tier, and I have to add new people who have joined the $30 tier. And the last few months, it just keeps getting shorter and shorter and shorter. But it just makes me appreciate the people who are on it all the more. So everyone's name who is scrolling down at the bottom right there, I just want to let you know that I have much love for you guys, and I really, really, really appreciate you guys dedicating that much of your finances to Sifted. I don't know how much more I can say it or how more heartfelt I can be about it, but it really means a lot to me, especially when times are tough. Knowing that you have this core group of people that you're seeing right now on the bottom of the screen supporting you really means a lot. So I just want to say thank you. I don't think I can say it enough, because without you guys, none of this happens. So you guys are freaking awesome. Thank you again. Thanks to everybody who supports us on Patreon. But it's the people who really dig deep and give us that $30 a month or more. You guys are making a sacrifice for us, and I really appreciate it. So that's it for 148. We'll be back next week. I think next week we'll be talking Battlefield 5.
And probably Let's Go.
Pokemon Let's Go. Yeah, so we should have another amazing show next week.
Battlefield 5 is all you, by the way.
Yeah.
I ain't paying money for that.
I knew that. EA's sending it to me, so I don't have to pay for it either. So
I liked what I played of the beta, but like that whole thing is just such a disaster right now. I'm going to wait until they get more stuff out in March or whatever.
I'll jump on that grenade.
You do. Literal grenade. I'll deal with a Pokemon.
All right, guys and girls, thank you so much for your support. Thanks for hanging with us on the stream. GameFace is up and out.